Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, live right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. Apparently, everybody in the world has gotten sick all at one time, so we've been scrambling. We got the panel together, and perhaps Aaron Sparrow will join us in time, but apparently he has a fever. He's not feeling well. But we will go on, and we are going to have a lot of fun here. Got lots of great topics and a fantastic panel of experts here to talk about everything. Now, Kerry, you were supposed to be here with us last week.
Yes.
And then Mom had a little sickness. She had to go to the hospital, but everything's okay now?
Yeah, she's good. They had changed her Parkinson medicine, and it had affected her blood sugar because she's also a diabetic, and they were fearing it was a stroke, but everything's good. They stabilized her, they changed the meds, and she is now probably right now playing bingo at the nursing home, so everything's good.
Very good. Well, I'm glad it all worked out. How you been, besides worried?
Busy with Mom and all, but I've been also working on some stuff, including some writing, so hopefully I'll get
You writing a
somewhere
manga?
with that. Not a manga.
Well,
What are you writing?
It needs to be a manga, right?
No, you don't need to write Japanese for a manga.
Oh, I mean, B, right? You have to be in Japan to consider it a manga. Isn't like Korea? They have their own.
Manhwa in Korea, yeah.
There you go,
Manhwa.
exactly. Hey, I'm just being specific. That's all I'm saying.
I know.
Are you writing music?
No, I'm working like a comic book script idea.
Very nice. Congratulations. That sounds exciting.
Thank
Have you been reading the manga? Because you are the manga expert.
Yes, and I actually got 2 for the recommendations today, so.
Very nice. Jim and I were talking like last week about how hard it is to review manga on YouTube because you always get strikes.
Yeah, you can't, like, I stopped showing interior shots of manga because everybody's, like, claiming copyrights on it and everything. It's ridiculous. It's pretty much, you have to sit there and be a talking head now when you're discussing
What, is
manga.
fucking Tony Khan in charge of Shonen Jump now?
Backstage footage.
That guy is lame. My goodness. Tony Khan ended up being the worst thing that ever happened to AEW. Oh, shit.
He brings them in, and then they go, and then they're bigger. You know, he's just brewing wrestlers for the big company.
Very nice. So you probably
Yes,
had
sir.
a good weekend last weekend. You had WrestleMania nights 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Did you get the story you wanted?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Did you get the story you wanted?
Yeah, I thought everything was really good. All the things that were supposed to be emotional were well done. Usually the wrestling's pretty good, although some weren't so great. I think most people think the Usos match was the worst. And usually, a lot of times when people act and they're related and they're doing like love roles, it doesn't really come across all the time well on screen. A lot of times when siblings wrestle against each other, it never really works. Unless you're a heart, then it's okay.
Well, what about Edge and Christian?
They're not real brothers.
Let's get out of here. They've been
I
brothers
know.
for like 25
What is
years.
this cartoon? Is kayfabe? Yeah.
All right, so WrestleMania was good. How's everything on the channel? You got any interviews or anything good coming up?
Oh, you know what? Either this week or next week, I'm going to have Joe Corallo on because he has a book coming out, and we're just going to catch up.
The
I have
Rachel
a few-
Pollack special for DC?
Ooh, I'm really excited about that one. I've already talked to a lot of customers about it, and they're pretty much ready to go for it. So, yeah, it's good.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm always throwing, oh, yeah, friend of the show. my YouTube internet friend.
So how have sales been? Because this week we had House of Brainiac kick off. I didn't feel like there was a lot of buzz around it. But that first issue was pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, and I just read the second one too. Sales have been okay. Like, this was a really good Wednesday, but I think today is going to be crap because it's raining all day.
Oh.
Even if on a weekend and it rains, paper and water just doesn't mix really all that well.
Not particularly.
That's why I use plastic bags.
So does the Superman edition House of Brainiac Chapter 2, is it still good?
Yeah, it's really good. I
man.
like the art a lot. What is
The
it?
art is
Rafa
what's-
Sandoval?
Yeah.
And Williamson's doing a good thing here. If you dig the idea of more than one Lobo or Zarnian or however you say it, That's a big deal going on, and it's kind of like, what? There was
kind of like that General
that,
Cathon or whatever his name was. He looked pretty badass.
Yeah, it was.
He looked like he should have been at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Cycles of Apocalypse or something.
Definitely, yeah. This gives you we're going to be talking about comic books and who the readership is in it. But if you're down for like a Superman testosterone, like shit going down in the city, violent style, it was a great issue. And number 2 is great too. Superman comes in, he's like, "Hey Lobo, I got something to say to you." He was like, you know how Cody comes out and talks? Superman came in and punched. It was great.
Exactly. Don't give away too many spoilers.
That's the spoiler. It's first page spoil.
Very nice. That sounds exciting. We've also got Drew, also known as Dolan Waddick. How you doing, Drew?
Doing great. Wes, been up all night writing. Yep, I'm here. Been up all night writing. I guess that explains why you haven't heard from Aaron if he's out sick, because he's going to be editing this new book. But yeah, been very, 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 very busy.
Well, very nice. How you feeling? You feeling good about yourself? Are you feeling bad about your writing? Are you depressed now?
Not even close to that. I'm feeling ecstatic. Like yesterday, I was on cloud 9, but it's. I don't want to get it. The past few weeks were kind of rough, but like all the news I got recently for these projects have been fantastic. So yeah, I'm
very nice. Did you get to read that Action Comics?
I did. Yep, I did.
Are you as over the moon as Uel and I?
Do we want to save it for our video, Wes? Do we want to talk about it now?
He's got a dissenting voice here on Action Comics. What is wrong with you?
Or is it? I don't know. Or is it?
I don't know, maybe.
You really piqued my curiosity, though. I gotta say. I mean,
I'm side-eyeing you.
Pause. You know. Can I ask Drew a question? When you get done with the script and you're like looking at it, you're like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing I've written," or "Oh, no one's gonna like this shit." How do you feel about that when you're finished, or is there something else?
You know, a lot of times I will say, was starting off, I originally had the biggest ego in the planet, thinking, "Oh, this is fantastic." But as the further I've gone along and realized that, okay, there's going to be more than one draft. I'm not Max Visaggio. That I have to realize that it's going to be going through like 5 or 6 or 7 drafts, and that, okay, it's not the greatest thing on the planet. It'll probably be good, but it can always be better.
Yeah.
Very nice. In the Air Force, we call that the 90% solution, Drew.
Yes.
Right? We don't have the time and money to get it perfect, but we get it 90% and then we go.
Eric Larson was talking about that one time. It's like, you give a page 3 hours and then you're done. Yeah, I know. I can tell.
Last but not least, we do have, I guess you're the co-host of the channel today, Eric.
Yes. Place at the table. Woo! Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Wes, guess what?
What happened?
I am 11 hours away from hitting 4,000 public view hours on my YouTube channel. I'm going, so I will thank you. And I would never have got here without you and you pushing me over. You put me over 1,000. And I'm eternally grateful for being on the show, being like someone you can talk comic books with, and this panel. And thank you, everyone out there. Seriously, I'm just blessed and grateful. Cheers.
Listen, Sully, no one puts you over 1,000 but you.
Oh, shucks.
You weren't yourself.
You put the word out there, man. You put the word out there, and I'm very grateful. Thank you. And I'm having a great time. We talk about comic books twice a week on my show, and then we do stupid gratitude lists every day. And
so what's with the Incel cast that I see you promoting now? You went MGTOW?
Yeah, it's clickbait. And I'm trying to, like, if you have hurt feelings about, like, you know, the world, and especially about digital culture, you know, there's a way out of it, and it's called gratitude. And make a gratitude list, and gratitude will really give you some traction on some deep shit. And I live by that. And it's reformatted my self-talk. I have the dojo for your tactical and practical spirituality. Reverend Sully's. Also the Sultan of Soup.
So you're trying to like rehabilitate MGTOW guys by saying
it's like Yeah, it's clickbait to get you like, what is this about? Like, hey, you know what? I had the wrong opinion of Star Wars. So some chick fan out there is going to call me an incel.
Oh, they just always call you stuff like
I
that.
know, but it's awful and it's pervasive and it's social culture. And it's just, you know what? Don't pay attention to that voice. Pay attention to this voice.
I was like the chunky kid in an athletic family, and then I was in the military for 20 years. So I've learned, don't listen to the naysayers. They're just going to talk.
So yeah, and especially in light of like current events too, of like digital lynch mobs and negative feelings and tribalisms and people not sticking with each other, especially in the face of cancel culture. I mean, we need to be a bit more uplifting with each other in our own culture. I mean, let's not fall for the negativity and the outrage. You know what I mean? There's plenty of good stuff out there.
You know what I did? Speaking of good stuff today, Sully.
Mm-hmm.
I went out there and I made basically chicken pot pie filling, and then we served it over rice, and the entire family's minds were blown.
Wow, that sounds great. That's like a curry. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. We love food here.
Mm-hmm. You and I could do the comics or the food aficionados. We could
That's
do it.
true. Yeah, we'll get
I might not be a chef like Sully, but I did work as a short order cook and got all my recipes from my mom and my grandma.
We make some good Patreon content. You know what I mean? Some easy recipes for people. We'll just call it and this is
how to make donuts in a microwave.
Made of unstable molecules, and pin particles.
While talking comics.
Yes.
Very nice stuff. Sounds like everybody's having a good week. We do need to say thank you very much and give a shout out to the Thinking Critical Patreon supporters this week. A huge shout out to Lane Kramer, who fights as Shenanigans and is basically dedicated to being the destroyer of Doc Soul by making him review very, very bad comic books, even worse than me. Also, thank you very much to the Wanderer of Patreon, who fights as The Journey and is the protector of Odyssey City. Next up, thank you very much to the Kid Rye, known as Venomous, and the protector of Toxin Towers. Next up, we have Ricardo Calderon. Thank you very much for supporting me on Patreon. He protects the city of Energia as Power Pulse. And finally, Judge Smalls, welcome back to the channel. He fights as the Jurist. It is the protector of Lawmakers Landing. Great stuff there. If you are interested in supporting Thinking Critical on Patreon, there's a link in the video description. Got 32 hours of podcasts coming up every single month. Basically, new podcasts every single day on the channel there. Lots of fun stuff going on there with all your favorite guests. And we have a good time there. We also have some people chiming in. We've got some super chats already. Callum says, did you hear about that stupid TTRPG Tomb Raider?
Tabletop role-playing game?
Wait, what?
I thought there was some new alphabet people.
No.
That's a lot of letters.
I heard about they didn't want Tomb Raider to be a colonialist or whatever, a colonist.
Yeah, I heard that.
Shouldn't be raiding tombs.
I know.
You'll be solving mysteries.
But she didn't raid a whole lot of tombs after the first one. Like, she was in space and stuff, I think, at one point. So, I don't know. They always want to take anything that's cool, they got to destroy. Who they are, I'm not really sure. But it seems like
that's the thing, though. IPs really aren't supposed to exist forever. And, we would look, really, seriously. I mean, I only see people talking about it in every arena there is. But let's just talk about movies. It's always remakes or sequels. Yeah. I think The Daily Show, they did something where they were joking about that stuff. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to the point where we've already, put that thing through the grinder, and we're not going to have anything to do it to, because there's nothing being created in movies that's new, or comic books that's new. We'll probably be talking about that Spider-Man cover, right?
Yeah.
So it's not very new. It feels like I've seen it before. Kerry, didn't you say something like that? It's just like villains are heroes and heroes are villains. I had Jim Zub on my show, and he's like, did you ever notice that like all the superheroes are dating other superheroes?
Yeah. Back
in the day, they used to be with normal people,
Exactly.
and trying to hide their identity. I mean, work relationships, right? Sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
Well, you as a comic book store owner, is there money to be made in a Tomb Raider comic book?
I've never ever really been in a store that sold media comics, video game, television.
You don't do Sonic?
Sonic. No, I do. I have, a few people that come in when the kids come in and they don't know what they're doing. You show them the Sonic comics so you can get like a bearing on what they want to read. It amazingly does better than I ever would have thought. And it's just not something I'm getting a lot of. I would love to sell more Looney Tunes. I would love to sell more Scooby-Doo, but I have a certain amount. I buy extra so I can have that stuff to show people. Free comic book days coming up, so I'm sure I'm going to move the rest of it. But I don't know if there's really a whole lot of money in a Tomb Raider comic book. Not really.
Nice.
Not if Angelina Jolie isn't on the cover or something. Or Adam Hughes.
Lade says, so for Doc next week, once all announcements are done, I will give Doc a choice between 3 series. He can choose the one he wants to do and 2 issues a review of. Oh, man.
You might as well just make a Lane Kramer tier. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
You want to shovel some shit? This is how much it's going to cost.
Let's
destroy Doc's life. The destroyer of Doc here. You can determine everything that is going to ruin Doc's life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these announcements for X-Men are not getting better.
No. Are we going on to that? Are we?
No. We'll get there eventually. I got
this feels like my show all of a sudden. Like it's just all over the place already.
Adam Frey says, good morning, team. I know I yell where's Perch every week, but please check on Perch. That man is down after last week, and it doesn't bode well for comics culture. Your boy Zach said he's wrapping up. Yeah, Perch has been talking about that. I actually talked to him this morning because he was going to do the Q&A on the Patreon with me this week because Doc's out. But Perch is under the weather. He's not feeling well. So I'm been scrambling at the last minute to find someone else to do the Q&A with me. I think I found somebody. But I think a lot of people are down after last week. I've heard a lot of things behind the scenes from people that just aren't feeling real great about comic books right now. And obviously the tragedy with Ed Piskor, I imagine, is it's one of those moments that I think is going to change comic books. And I'm not really sure how drastically or how much it's going to change it, but I think in 6 months, we're going to look back and say that's something that was an impetus for change, whether it be good or bad. I'm not really sure. But I do think a lot of people are very down after last week.
I think it's not something that I would say like dwell on, but it also can't be something that we forget. And right. I know how it is these days. It's easy to forget. But again, not dwelling, just don't forget also.
But I can confirm Perch is definitely feeling under the weather, and he's had some medical issues lately. So hopefully he does better. We're praying for him here, and definitely put out your good vibes and prayers for Perch and his family right now. Lane Kramer says, Wes, watch X-Men 97 episode 5. You will cry at the end.
Can you watch it? Do you have it on Disney?
I have Disney Plus.
Okay. I hear it's good. My customers are raving about it.
Everybody keeps demanding that I review the show or watch it or whatever. But the thing is, Drew, I watch cartoons all day long with my children. I don't want to watch more cartoons when I'm not watching cartoons with the kids, and they haven't expressed any desire to watch X-Men 97. And they're not all together familiar with X-Men 97.
So, Wes, we clearly right now we have 2 different lives. Like I have no kids as far as I know, and I'm not married. So this is my one time to really enjoy cartoons when I'm not watching reruns of the Bionic 6 or Mighty Max in the background on YouTube. And this is fantastic. I have not had this much fun enjoying the X-Men probably since pre-Krakoa era, and it's a breath of fresh air. It really is. When you have characters, acting the way they should. You don't have Nightcrawler gleefully murdering people, which is which is amazing. It's an amazing concept. And I wanted them to explain the relationship with Magneto and Rogue in this, and they did in this episode. I was like, okay, you guys, that's one big matzo ball, and they did. So where they go with it, I enjoy it, and I strongly encourage everyone check this out if you're feeling down in the X-Men. This will really lift your spirits with what you can do.
Did you drop some saline solution down your cheek?
There may have been a salty discharge. There's a certain small salty discharge out of my optic nerves, but it's well worth checking out. You've got to watch this.
Yes.
Listen, man, you're gonna have to convince my kids. I can't watch any more cartoons.
Maybe you could start with X-Men '92 and like right from the beginning.
Don't do that. Don't do what he's saying. Do not do this. I implore you. Do not do this. Teach your kids to read comic books instead, and then you can read the good stuff. Okay.
My kids, the cartoons my kids mostly watch are on YouTube for the most part. They do watch. They are watching right now Toy Story a lot. I've watched all 4 Toy Story movies multiple times over the last couple months.
Over and over and over again.
My 4-year-old won't stop. But at least
Thank God there's 4 of them.
Yeah, at least I like Toy Story. At least I really like the first 3 movies, and the 4th one's kind of whatever.
Yeah, they're not making you watch Turning Red.
He went on a little Turning Red kick there for a couple weeks.
Kids will watch anything they're supposed to watch, right?
Next up, Nerd says, I've been working on a new Warriors comic to show how that idea could legitimately work, but every time I bring it up, everyone could care less. What do I do? Now, Drew, you obviously are creating comic books and your crowdfunding stuff. How do you get your idea out there and get people interested in it?
Honestly, with something like this, if you're taking an existing IP, unless you have an serious N with Marvel, do not call it the New Warriors. All right.
Well, he says his thing is legally distinct, but I guess he's working on the New Warriors with Safe Space and Snowflake that never was produced by Daniel Kibblesmith, and is attacking it in a honest manner to show how the concept could potentially be good.
Your answer to this is a survey, maybe a Facebook one. And then you can get an idea of how many people. I mean, I don't know how many. You say everyone. If add me into the everyone, but if that's 5 people, that's nobody. You know, if it's 500 people or 5,000 people, and you're getting the same answer, I think the idea is do it for love.
Yeah.
It's the only reason.
Not every idea is great for the masses, and I think one of the reasons that New Warriors was ridiculed to the degree that it was, not only was it playing into kind of a lot of tropes or whatever, but it was an idea that a lot of it was kind of laughable.
Yeah.
Even though
But that guy's a comedy writer. Was he going to even a little bit go for laughs on it?
Kibblesmith?
I think he's a comedy writer.
I think.
Yeah, he worked on the Colbert Report or something.
You don't think he would have liked? I mean, the Colbert Report, it was a little bit of, there was a lot of satire in that. I could see that Safe Space character and all that other silly stuff that was in that New Warriors being played more for comedy angle, and maybe through the comedy you start liking the characters a little bit more, kind of like the Justice League or something back in the day. Not trying to suggest it's going to be
Archer?
as good as that. Like what?
Like Archer?
Like Keith Giffen, Justice League. Oh yeah, like Archer. Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. Exactly. If you did something like that, it could, but how many people are going to give a shit?
Yeah. I don't know how to make people give a shit about a comic book. I've never actually created one. So it's tough work, Drew. Like you're basically your own marketing team.
You're telling me. I've been doing that for the past couple years, Wes. Yeah. Honestly, when you're doing it, when you're touching upon topics like this, like dying is easy, comedy, and comedy is very, very difficult, especially when you're touching upon subjects like this. And I will say, a very funny writer I do know what we're talking with is Aaron Sparrow. Aaron is doing his Kneel Before Doomface. It is a very, very funny comic with pages he sent me, and you've got to have that funny bone in you to really know what works. And unfortunately, I don't know. NX Nerds writing style to know if it's legitimately funny or not. I mean, we've got to see the art too. We've got to see if this art is any good.
I mean, he might not be writing for comedy. Maybe he's going
I
strictly
think
serious.
maybe
I
he's
have no idea.
treating it serious, yeah.
So,
Okay.
but even still, hey man, it's on you. There is no bad character.
Yeah, it's how you write. It's how you write them. Yeah.
Right.
And then once again, he did say it's legally distinct, but obviously he's trying to make something that was ridiculed into something that was good. Caleb says, "Good time to be a Godzilla fan. That's doing well. Also, I'm glad Eric is dead in '97. Now he can't touch a Rogue anymore. But Gamut's dead too.
Spoilers,
man.
Stop spoiling it.
Jesus. Wow.
They all saw it already.
Bastard out of the outback.
I didn't see it.
You
Wes didn't see it. And you know what I say? Good. Good. He's dead.
He's dead.
Stupid character.
You know what stays dead in cartoons or comic books, but
Well, now we
still,
can have the
Cal, have a
Krakoa.
little bit of decorum, man. The episode's only been out for a few minutes.
That's not even a $5 spoiler. That's like a $50 spoiler if you're going to be pulling that. And that's Australian money, right? Oh, no, wait. What is that?
Yeah,
What's the-
Australian.
Yeah. Come on. That can't even be as good.
He says,
99
there's
cents.
a disturbing trend of when people pass like that artist, there seems to be celebration like dancing and blood, like Mark Wade who plays CG. I thought it was disturbing all around. A lot of the reaction to it.
Yeah.
I blame everybody. How you like that? I put it. It's on me. It's on. I'm just joking. I don't really mean that. Mark Wade's an asshole. He's always been an asshole, and he writes comics I don't think suck sometimes.
Yeah.
I can take him or I can leave him, but if he was stuck having to do something on the Superman story, I'd be reading it. There you go.
Yeah. There was a lot of not cool shit happen, in my opinion. So. Yeah, that was probably another one of the things that got a lot of people down. Finally, he says, "Thanks for the follow last week. I know my art is terrible, but thanks."
Aw. Keep trying, though.
Terrible. Keep
at
trying.
it.
Terrible.
No,
I've
no,
seen
keep
worse
at it.
art. Have you
Hang
seen
in
Riley
there.
Roscoe?
Look at John
You're already
Romita
DC
Jr.
ready.
Look at John Romita Jr. His style has evolved over 40 years of amazing Spider-Man. Callum, you will always be learning from your hobby. Keep going, man.
You left off
Oh,
the
I'm so
D
positive.
in front of the evolved with John Romita Jr. It should be devolved.
Oh, you cut it out. Cut it out.
You
He
could
looks
say
way better in
evolve.
Kick-Ass than he does in ASM right now.
Well, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
he's
what
still.
you're saying.
I'm
Got a
not
little
even
worse
gonna-
over time.
You know, on my show, there is no John Romita Jr. bashing. Just want to let
None.
everybody know.
Which is
that.
Mark Bagley,
Just Mark
all day
Bagley.
long. I mean, it's not even a person I use to.
perhaps the greatest Spider-Man artist of all times. But
Well, I mean, when Screaming Jay is here, I mean, Fatal J is here.
Screaming.
Aw.
Sergeant Dan stuff. Build an online community first. Show your concepts, break through the noise, and make buzz. Even 2K followers will make your project real.
Well, that's true.
That is the key. You do need to find your audience and cultivate it and connect with them in a way that lets them know that they can trust you and believe in your project, and what you're going to be giving them in the end is something that they want. And it's not always just going to be about your concept or whatever. You still have to be able to sell it and let people know that you're really invested in it. Yeah, that's a lot of what e-commerce is selling yourself and what you're all about and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, there are a lot of people doing very well with that.
There's always Etsy.
Etsy is
very true.
great. That's where you get all the best little trinkets for your wife for Mother's Day or Christmas and stuff. Oh, you can get me a personalized bracelet. Perfect. They'll even make it for you and everything. It'll look like I did it in the art craft thing.
Or bootleg comic book shirts. I bought an Eclipse Comics shirt from Etsy the other day, so I can't wait for that to get here.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
You get like really good cosplay stuff. I cosplay as Captain America, a full-on movie one, and I got this really nice compass that has Peggy's picture in it, and it costs like $30, but it's movie accurate, and it's a great addition to Etsy's great for cosplay. Any of you cosplayers out there, especially with con season coming out, if you don't get vetted at the door, that is, you know.
If you like retro gaming consoles, I will say this. It can be very, very difficult to set up all of your emulators and get all the games that are actually going to work on those emulators and stuff like that. You can go to the Etsy, and the guy has already done it. And he's got a whole library of all these games, and you can even ask him to personalize it for you, and they will send you the little SD card with everything pre-formatted. You can stick it right in your retro game console, and you don't have to do any of that work, which I will admit did take me, I believe, 18 hours to get my son's retro console that I bought him for Christmas working this year. So I wish I had just bought the SD card from the Etsy to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you put Donkey Kong on that.
Absolutely. Donkey Kong 64, every Donkey Kong Jr., all the games are on that one.
I don't get into that exploring the land crap games. It's just too much for me. What, am I supposed to play a game for 35 hours? Seriously? Man,
you definitely shouldn't play the Arkham Asylum games. No.
I would never.
Finally, Cal says, I mostly do Godzilla art, but sometimes I post originals.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I saw Venom art. But I am rarely on Twitter. People should probably know that by now.
Is he on Twitter or is it Instagram? Instagram is a better place to get your art looked at. And if I don't feel Instagram is near as negative as the X or whatever the other ones are, or as clicky, maybe. I don't know. I really don't see things I don't want to see more often than not, but it is political.
That one pink cat lady built an entire brand on Instagram, right? That you talked to?
I think it was, yeah. And it's funny that a lot of the people that were slamming me for having her on that show and that were in the chat are people that at least one is a person that's all, Ed Pisker letter thing. So go watch that show, everybody.
Absolutely. And then
I don't take the chat down.
I recommend manga The Witch and the Beast. Don't be fooled by the title.
It's a really good one. I like it a lot.
Are you sure about that? It sounds like it's for girls.
I have it in my collection. I've read it all. It's really good.
You're a girl. You should know. It's for girls.
It's not. It's more brutal. It's about a team that goes and hunts evil witches. I would recommend it.
Nice.
I don't want to give away too much.
Well, speaking of girls, you happen to be a girl, right, Kerry?
Yeah, I hope
believe
so.
So Doc and I had talked about this thing that came out. It was like a Facebook poll, is the way that they, I guess, cage it. It sounds like it's just data mining off Facebook, trying to come up with what people are interested in. 2014, they said, look, because 46.67% of all the people that said they like comic books on Facebook, or not even comic books, but comic book characters, or they had interest in comic books, were female, that meant half the comic book buying audience, if it wasn't female already, should be female. And then I sent you guys a follow-up article, I think, for Medium.com that came out about a year and a half later, I think, on that one. And basically this really led to a lot of decrease in quality and a lot of the things that we're experiencing right now, Kerry, with lots of conversations over sushi and lots of heroes not being challenged and kind of going through and not a whole lot of excitement going on in comic books, I think can be traced back to that one. What did you think of the poll results and how they reacted to it and deciding it was actionable?
I looked at that and I'm just kind of thinking, and again, this is going from my own experience, where are all these girls that are supposedly into comic books? I mean, I go to comic book stores on a regular basis and I'm like, the one comic book shop I go to does not carry manga. I am the only woman in there buying comic books. And if you know anything about Pittsburgh, Doc will tell you, there's a lot of comic book shops in Pittsburgh.
Sounds like there's
I go
over
to different
20.
ones. Yeah, I go to different ones. There's a couple of popular chain stores. If there's girls in there, they're looking at manga. I don't see out that many girls picking up Marvel, DC, Image, or anything outside of manga. Where are they?
Who's
Anybody?
buying Fire and Ice? Come on, I got to sell these issues of Fire and Ice.
Eric's buying Fire and Ice.
Well, if we're talking, so the one thing about that article is it was like what 2014 when it was
yeah,
written,
it's from 9 years ago.
And then I saw other people. It's like it's kind of going around again where people are talking about it, and you know, the movies were pretty super hot. If I looked at the movies now, for the most part, I could just say movies now. I don't even have to be talking about comic book movies or related movies.
Right.
They don't really do that well. One big one does, right? Like some Godzilla, maybe. I think that's doing all right. But I think people just our attentions are so diverted more than they were in 2014,
Right.
2004, 1994, on and on and on, that we have so many more avenues, obviously, to experience. And in 2014, I can let you know, there were broads all up in my store. I had women working in the store. We had reading groups, and we were like cultivating an audience, and there was a lot of material for them to consume. Some written by women and drawn by women, and then others that were, geared towards, let's say. But Vertigo was still a thing, in the 90s and 2000. Neil Gaiman still worked in comic books, from time to time. He'd go over and do a Marvel book, and then all of a sudden women are buying Eternals. You know what I mean? It can happen, believe it or not. But the comic industry isn't doing, the people that were doing things in 2014 aren't really, regardless if you like Kelly, a person likes Kelly Sue DeConnick, she sells to certain people, and usually it's women. She's not really doing anything anymore. Greg Rucka is a guy that always is geared towards, and it's action based, but it's women that he is writing for in his comic books, and he's not really doing a whole lot anymore. And we're seeing that more and more, and there's just no reason for women to come into comic. And I'm talking about something that isn't manga. Manga is really difficult for a store to carry. Just to let everybody know, just as somebody gives a shit about something, there's already been 20 volumes, let's say. And the first ones aren't in print, and only the last ones are. And when the first ones finally come in, the other ones are out of print. So it's really hard to get it at a store. You got your Amazons and your Barnes & Noble and stuff like that. It's a little bit different. I bet we're seeing a lot more of those women that would be in comic stores in those Barnes
online,
and whatever.
And I agree with you on that, Uel, because my comic book store, the main one I go to, doesn't even carry manga. If you want it, he'll order it. But across the street is Barnes & Noble, and you walk in there, and there's like aisles of manga. So they're over there. They're not in the comic book shop buying them.
I'm sorry. I get $2.50 off of my manga because I pre-order it through Amazon. It's the only publication. It's the only periodical publication I get through my online supply chain. Everything else I happily do get at my LCS and pay the retail markup too, because it's really important to that's the American dream. That's the American way. Superman's always talking about. Get out and go to your comic book shop and spend your money there. Get your supplies there, your bags, your boards, your boxes. And but yeah, with manga though, I literally I get a $2.50 credit, and over now over like 20 going on 21 volumes of Dragon Ball Super, that all added up, and it paid for several of those volumes. You know what I mean? In its own way. So
yeah, you have too much competition with manga
you have way too much competition with that click and point, and it's just mailed to your door.
It's true.
Yeah, it's
tough. I understand, but you got to realize it's hard to go to remember when I don't know, maybe you all don't. There used to be these things where you go to this store and you would just buy audio stuff, like your car speakers and your car stereos and your home stereos and your home speakers and headphones, and that was it. And then a Best Buy comes in, and holy shit, they got DVDs and video games. I can get a fucking vacuum cleaner there too. And it's like, what happened to my speaker store that was just on the corner down the street? And I feel like comic stores are kind of like one of those last type of things where you can go and get something that but when they're gone, the only thing you can do is order on the internet. But if we order on the internet now, it's going to make that the only way. Game of Thrones, the novel, when all the store, like when there wasn't a Borders anymore, all of a sudden it went right back to cover price. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That cheap price you're getting now, it's not going to be offered to you later.
Yeah.
So don't shop internet. Sorry.
Yes, once Amazon wipes out all the bookstores, then the prices will go back to normal. Mm-hmm. That's the goal, or at least
yes,
that's the game plan.
But the important thing is, women, they're only putting out in comic books things that should. I mean, don't you feel obligated, Kerry, as a woman, to have to buy Spider-Woman just to make sure there will be another Spider-Woman down the line? I was wondering about that with like my black.
I see this kind of like pressure, like, oh, you're a woman, you need to support like the female characters because we don't get much of the female characters, which I kind of sit there and go, it's kind of bullshit because I remember in the 90s you've had tons of female characters. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to buy a book that is terrible just to support because women. I want good stories.
But it's not a good
story.
I don't feel like it's not as much as I feel like to ensure that you eventually will see, let's just say a writer you like that wouldn't even consider doing a comic book, okay? Mm-hmm. And is going to do a comic book, and let's just pretend does the best comic book ever, okay?
Okay.
But wanted to do this female character. But you know what? That shit doesn't sell. And because Kerry didn't buy 5 years of shitty comic books, that situation is never going to happen with your character finally. You know what I mean?
And that's
so
unfortunate.
Now, don't you feel obligated to have to buy it?
See, and I don't think it should be my obligation. I think it should be the industry's obligation to produce good product. If you're giving me 5 years of shitty product, why would I continue to want to buy shitty product just because maybe that one book will be good?
Like, I never have to worry that this Spider-Man isn't going to be published in some manner. Right. You know what I mean? It's Peter Parker is going to... It might be a story from his past, but there will be a Peter Parker Spider-Man story.
Right, and you got people who are devoted to the character, despite the quality of the character.
But we can't get a good Vixen series from DC. We can't get a good Spider-Woman story from Marvel. And they're always putting, like, I'm going to do this thing so that you should pay attention to it. And it's like...
We're going to hang out in the coffee shop and talk.
Isn't that what women want to see? Lunches
so
and
true to
trying on
life.
Dresses and stuff like that.
I have a whole genre of manga called Slice of Life if I want that. I go to read superhero comic books for superhero stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. They want to make it like manga. They want to do slice of life here, and they want to do like romance over here. I'm like, no, I just want my superheroes to fight bad guys and go up against challenges. How hard is that?
The big problem that I see is they want to do, slice of life and relationship stories, and hey, that's all fine. There's clearly an audience for that. It works for genre books that are outside of Marvel or DC, but they try to do it with their superheroes. It's like nobody goes to a fucking Batman comic book for some slice of life stuff. You don't go to Marvel and DC for those kind of stories. There are other brands out there, and trying to fit these characters into those boxes that they clearly were not designed for. It never works. It just fails and fails and fails. But there's this stupid report out there from 10 years ago. They're like, well, half the audience should be female, so we will, burn it down trying to make it happen.
On 5,000 people on a Facebook poll?
Well, they said that I believe the number was 24 million comic book fans. And I was like, well, there's never actually been 24 million comic book customers all at one time. No book has ever even come close to that. The highest selling comic book was 7 million. And I believe every comic book customer at the time bought that book and multiple covers at that, or copies of it at least. And so right there, the numbers are bullshit because the number was far too big. And it was just people that showed interest in a character. Just having interest in a character, Drew, does not mean that you want to pull this. It does not mean you want to go down to your local comic book shop and pick up a book. It doesn't even mean you want to get a Comixology subscription to go and read different versions of the characters throughout the years or whatever. It just means that you heard about the character and thought that was interesting.
Yes, if the comic book industry was based, I mean, unfortunately they did, but if the sales were based around someone hearing of a Spidey Man or a X-Man, like, oh my God, I know that thing. That's a sale. Boom. That's $1.5 million right there. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Not because someone just heard of it or may have seen someone talk about something in secondhand, but no, it doesn't work. It's unfortunate. It doesn't work that way. And a group of poll took it that way, that because someone heard of something, oh my God, that's a sale right there. No, that's not how it works. And unfortunately, the whole industry, most of the industry, Marvel, DC, the big two, have kind of, well, probably mainly Marvel, has based those sales around that bullshit poll.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they based their creative direction around that bullshit poll. That if we created, half and half split of, half our comic books are generally aimed at men, half are generally aimed at women, we won't make it clear which ones are and which one aren't. That 50% audience will show up. And it turned out that wasn't the case. You're just going to make people really mad when they get Fire and Ice Welcome to Smallville, expecting something that was honoring JLI or whatever, and you just get an enormous pile of shit for 5 issues.
Yes, and appeasing to this quote unquote group that contributed to this poll, you're changing characters, legacy characters. I hate to say legacy characters, but characters who have personalities, they have quirks, they have traits, they are heroes. But then when you start changing those characters into something that they aren't, those fans in place who did like those characters are going to call out on your bullshit, and they're not going to support it.
Yes.
And then there's always... I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. We have, and again, because this is from then, the sales were, there were more people buying comics at that time, and more of them were women. But again, the diversity of things to buy was like, everything's a horror comic book now. Like, my buddy writes comics, right? And he told me, oh yeah, I'm going to be doing a horror comic. And the first thing I was like, he always tells me something he's going to be doing. And I'm like, oh God, why are you doing this now? Well, I haven't done one yet. Yeah, everybody does a horror comic book, right? No offense to anybody here.
No,
Doc, you're about horror comic books, and
yeah.
If that is what women, is that what every woman wants? Because we're looking at Monstrous is horror, House on the Something is horror, and the Killing of the Small People are horror, and it's horror, and everything else is, and someone's gay.
Yes.
It's a woman. It's like horror. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's redundant. Honestly, if someone gives you a pitch anymore, someone tells you a pitch, it's like, let me guess, it's a horror comic. How'd you know? Or it's a vampire horror comic. What the hell? Are you psychic? Like, no, because everyone's fucking lazy. It's just, you're not trying if you're just doing that. What are you going? Okay, you got a horror story. Perfect, great, grand, wonderful. What are you going to do that separates it from the pack?
Right.
They're gonna. It's like James Tynion. They're gonna talk, and then maybe something happens on the very last page.
Don't forget the title scroll, so it looks really cool for 3 pages.
Yeah, a very long and obnoxious title. Yeah, very, very long and obnoxious title.
I'll tell you what difference. Well, I'll tell you the difference between my horror book and everybody else's. It's got 30 words in the title.
30.
The
incredibly long, self-indulgent writer.
That's it. You got it. Let's keep going, man. It has an ellipsis in it. That's what it is. Mine has an ellipsis.
So with Marvel and DC basically altering their brands to try and make this poll come real, have you seen a shift in the demographics? Is it become a 50-50? Is it closer to that? Did it really...
it's so hard to say. I mean, for me now, no. Me then, yes. I was in a much bigger store down in a bustling city. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You're going to ask me if I had people that were only from Berkeley shopping at my store. I would say no. What am I talking? Probably was 50-50 then also. So you have a lot of people. What am I selling to those people, though, is the question. Am I selling all the superhero comics? No, I was selling like 3 or 4. Thor was doing well. When he changed over, I got
2015. Yeah.
people dropped off. Some people came on. We had Ms. Marvel, Squirrel Girl for the younger readers. Stuff like that did really well. That stuff isn't even out anymore. But now we have, like you said, Fire and Ice. I think Kerry said Fire and Ice. Not good. We've got Hawk Girl. I hear not very good. I don't read that stuff.
Wonder Woman, not good.
What about Captain Marvel?
I don't read Captain Marvel.
And Jackpot and Black Cat. Jackpot and Black Cat. That's fantastic.
God.
I saw Black Cat loving it up with another lady. And I specifically showed this to one of my customers, and she picked it up. But I don't think she was that into the story.
Well, that's not a big part of the story. Is just
No. I just mean the comic book itself didn't really do it for her.
It wasn't very good.
She also
but there aren't very many books out there like a Saga that are produced by an Image or Marvel or DC that really do certainly aim toward and actually attract a female audience. That one seems to have worked.
Yeah, I mean there are. I mean there's again. What are you selling? Are you selling Vertigo comics? There are no Vertigo comics anymore. There's Black Label, but it's mostly superhero stuff, right? Hellblazer's coming out. I've got ladies that buy that. There you go. But it's not 50-50 anymore. It's not 50-50. And you have to be the type of store that can draw them in. And if it's going to be superhero majority, you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. Like, well, who's right? I would love to write a romance novel and just make it a spy thriller. Some lady gets pushed to the side, and then it's just a spy thriller the rest of the time.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
You know what I mean? No, she's gone. She's doing the laundry. I don't care.
You want to bait and switch the audience with like the
cover
with Fabio, but it turns out it's a Bond book.
It's a horror story, but but you thought it was a romance. There you go. For 30 issues, I'm going to do this romance, and then horror, just like that. What do you think?
It worked for Savage Dragon. It was a Hulk knockoff, and then it became a porn book.
Yeah, I like that. Superhero porn.
It's pretty funny.
If you like punching, he still does that stuff pretty good.
Like, I've read the last 2 issues of Savage Dragon, and I've never really touched it before, and I was really entertained. And I'm like, I always felt that Eric Larson, didn't he have more of that Todd McFarlane kind of style, like of that?
Well, you followed him on Spider-Man, that's for sure. So when you're doing all the web like that,
yeah. But now it's like he looks like he's doing Frank Miller in a way, and it's
he's
like,
old.
But I'm really pleased with the art and with its over the topness, and it's like a statement on superhero BS. I found it fun.
Dude, I would check out the first 30 issues of Savage Dragon or so. The first 30 or 50, they are incredible. They are truly amazing, especially the first 10 or so. You've got to check those out, man.
Like when Savage Dragon dies, when he's all spiked on that tower or something like that, remember?
Yes. Yeah.
That's sweet.
So what do you think, Sully? Have they gone so far into this? Have they committed to the bit so long that they literally can't go back? They just got to keep going down and going down?
Yeah. Because it's just a reflection of HR hiring practices. You know, you have to. We don't have bullpens of comic book writers anymore. They draft from colleges, and you go to the right colleges, and you take the right courses, and you get the right jobs. These corporate HRs, they're all Ivy League business school grads, and this is the mentality of it. And it's like, okay, I was at my CVS just yesterday getting some Ben and Jerry's ice cream. It was a pint of fish food, very, very good flavor, caramel, dark chocolate, very good, Wes. You're missing out on Ben and Jerry's. Are you? Do you have Ben and
Yes.
Jerry's? Oh,
no, no Ben and Jerry's here.
But I like to look at the magazine rack while I'm there, because the magazine rack is just like it's kind of an extension of what we do here. These are print periodicals. They're at a marketplace on a shelf, and they used to share that marketplace as well. So like there was an issue of Popular Mechanics. It's $8.99 an issue now. Yeah, and it's still its ads are still directed towards men. And it's but yeah, $8.99 monthly, and but look at the other parts of your newsstand. You have like Elle magazine, you have Cosmopolitan magazine, you always have women's magazines as well. So I think they're treating the spinner rack like the newsstand, that you need to have X amount of publications directed at women as well. And they could also be the same old books like
What
Girls
if it
Love
was called
Story.
L by Popular Mechanics and it had a fucking car on the cover?
Sydney
But
Sweeney
really, it was all
changing out
relationship
shocks.
advice. It'd be a little confusing, wouldn't it?
No, but
A little bit.
I think they could be like the same kind of. Women have always had comics. Going back to the golden age, there was
Really
like
the model.
girls love romance comics. So they could just be the same old romance comics, just with a superhero skin. Like if you're looking at like Sensational She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell lately, I mean, that's kind of
It's people that like it. I mean,
it's
I don't know
like
what
a
to say.
bull.
Yeah.
It's not terrible, but it's just
right. Not
it's-
goodable.
it's just like I saw Sex in the City, and it was a wonderful show, and it's been like this ever since. Like, you know, do you need to have She-Hulk Sex in the City? You know, well,
Also don't think about when you take your break. So Wes, you're a late in lifer mostly when it comes to comic books.
Wow.
You're a
Talking
born
about
again.
kids?
Let's
Are
say
we
that.
talking about married comics? All of it. Okay.
No. I'm just saying that, like, there is always a time if you start early in comic books when you don't read comic books.
You gotta take a
More
break.
often than not, you take a break. College, high school, you get back into it when you start working. You're like, I'll go to the comic store and see what's up. What is that? 8 years, 10 years? It's kind of where we're at right now. So there is a possibility, if it's true that what I was saying, that there were women in buying superhero comic books, that we might look in another 5 years and like, oh, there's going to be some people coming back. Their kids are older now. Their kids, they want to get into comic books, or they want to go and see if like Ms. Marvel's worth the shit anymore. And stuff like that. Hopefully those books will be around, but Kerry's not going to be buying them, so it's not going to be on her.
Well, here's the point about that. It's to add on again. They're going to have to really like do something to convince me that they've changed and they're going to produce something good for me to want to buy some of these female characters, because a lot of the books I've read I haven't read the She-Hulk, so I can't comment on that, but a lot of them, the way they
You
write
might
these
like
female
that
characters.
all of them, I think. I gotta
Really?
say, because it's got some punching, but I don't know. I think it's the best of them all, maybe.
Better than Poison
See,
Ivy?
Which
I'm
isn't
the
saying
oddity. I
much.
like
It's a
my
pretty
own-
low bar.
Poison Ivy is
Maybe
great.
I like my hero stuff. I'm the oddity amongst the girls. But my problem is the way they write female characters. Okay, maybe not all of them, but a majority of them is that there's no flaws, there's no stakes, and it's like I can't relate to somebody who's like overly perfect and always putting down the male characters in order to lift themselves up. I'm sorry.
No, if you go in and read a Captain Marvel book, I was reading the Kelly Thompson one. In the first 2 issues, it was just everyone that she interacted with for the first time was like, "Oh my goodness, you're Carol Danvers. You did this and this and this. You're absolutely
You're the greatest
amazing." It's
ever.
like, no, actually, you're amazing because you did this and this and this. I was like, what are you guys doing here? It's like there's supposed to be some conflict here. There's a bad
she
guy
have
out
a-
there killing people.
Didn't she have like a publicist when that one dude was writing it? Brian Reed, like in the 90s or 2000s.
Maybe.
And she was still
I
Ms.
think she
Marvel?
had like some published. It was still Ms. Marvel. She needs to get that person back so she can like recraft her image. All these superheroes really just don't like me.
Too many damn platitudes. I hate this shit. No one's.
I know. I just know they're talking. They don't know, but I could hear when they're in the other room, and they're talking shit about me all the time. That'd be my Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel.
Would you write Captain Marvel? Would you be excited about that one, Uel?
No, but I would do my damnedest to make it the greatest comic book I have ever seen. Like it would be. I already know, what you need to do, and you never see it. And I don't even know if it could actually work. But you always. The thing is that that they don't really care when there's not a really great artist on the book. And
yes,
there's a lot of really good artists still out there, and they don't put them on Captain Marvel. Sorry to whoever's doing Captain Marvel. It's not even really a slam against you. What I'm saying is, who's today's George Perez?
Right.
Whoever the fuck that is should be doing Captain Marvel if you really give a shit.
That'll list.
You know what I mean? I could say the same thing about Spider-Woman. How do you not put whoever draws the juiciest women in a Spider-Woman comic?
Well, Art Germ only does covers.
In the interiors, I mean. You know what I mean? It's like
you want to.
How do you not do? You want people to buy your comic books. You do something to make them want it, and it starts with the art.
Yeah, who's
starts with the art? Starts with the art.
Who's the lady that designed Yara Flor?
Ooh, Joelle Jones.
Joelle Jones. Throw her on some Spider-Woman.
There you
She's
go.
Great.
Yeah,
that'd be hot.
Another thing that really bothers me, we'll start winding this one down, Drew, is there's certainly been writers that do self-insert characters. Warren Ellis is sort of infamous, or perhaps noted for doing stuff like that. And we certainly have writers like a Tom King that tends to turn his hero into himself. But for the most part, that's not really how comic books really operated. But a lot of times, when you put an Alyssa Wong on a Captain Marvel, the book is actually about whatever the Asian lady that's the sidekick now. The book is really about her, and that character is clearly Alyssa Wong. She has all of her characteristics. And when you get a lot of these female writers in, of course, they're hiring them because half the audience is supposed to be, 50% women or whatever. We get so many self-insert characters, and I'm like, I'm just not that interested in what the writer would be if they were a hero.
It really shows these writers. You write what you know, and it's clear that these writers know shit from Crisco, and it's unfortunate because all they know really is themselves. Really, they hang out all day, probably looking at themselves, talking to themselves, and they just know that they are the most fascinating person in the world. They're looking at themselves in the mirror, saying that they're good enough, they're smart enough, and people like me. And gosh darn it, people like me, and they think that
I love that movie, by the way.
Stuart Smalley.
Yeah.
Now, see, like Safe Space, if you did it like that, perfect. You know what I mean? That would be the new Warriors, just like Stuart Smalley.
That would take, if you had that humility and that creativity to do that, but they don't have that ability. And that's the other thing. These creators don't have any humility at all in accepting that they're not perfect, and just they see these great characters as themselves because that's all they know, themselves. And it's unfortunate they've never lived outside their bubble, their apartments, their town and their shithole that they're living in. It's like it's a shame.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely something that's also come along with this that's become very frustrating and difficult to deal with, as a reader.
That's why Kitty Pryde's going to be a barista.
Yeah.
I think it's lack of talent more than, I don't know.
It's definitely a factor.
We have a creed. We have a mission statement. We're going to do this. That's companies are really into mission statements, but think about your baseball or football team. We're going to be a running team. You got the most expensive quarterback on the team and you give a crap about your running backs, or something like that. It's like, what are you doing? But this was an avenue they went down. They tried to make it happen and they're still doing it. And I feel like, I don't know about activism necessarily, but they're still reading that same. If they're still reading the same article and they're like, "This is going to happen," you want women to be in your shops.
Right.
Women
Absolutely.
are better buyers than men.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
everybody knows that.
I take shit personally, Yule. I don't forgive my book.
Like I live in a blue state in a blue city, so my local comic book shop is decidedly blue. It's queer friendly. They wear that stuff on their sleeve, and so when I go in there, I'm always in my all caps cyber frog hoodie. So I kind of keep it underneath my jacket, and I don't expose myself. But it's like
Do not
I
expose yourself in comic shops. It's inappropriate.
really.
Really.
But it's like,
That's not already happening.
but there are geek girls that work there, real geek girls that work there, and
real
they're
geek girls. What do you mean by that?
real, as
You mean they
opposed
got
to
like
fake
a
geek girls.
piercing? You mean like
You
that?
know,
right
The
there?
half head shaved.
Some of them, hey, I'm not being going to be judgmental, but they're really awesome and they're great people.
Hey
And
to the girls out there. What shop?
It's my shop.
Yeah.
It's called Kamikaze. It's in Davis
Oh, I
Square,
know that
Somerville.
name.
Yeah, they're a really great store. They're also a vintage comic book store. I've been going there for the better part of 2 decades, and I love my local comic book shop. And I've got 7 more in striking distance of this fortress of solitude.
Your backup plans?
Yeah, I have a backup store,
Yeah.
and
They've sold out of Action Comics. You got to get a copy.
well, dude, yeah. Or if you want that really sweet Jorge Jimenez variant cover on cardstock, sometimes you deserve that variant cover just for shits and giggles.
Absolutely.
I do.
So let's hear from the peoples. We got Lade Kraber says Rogues VA Lenore kills it in episode 5. The feels.
Mhm. Her voice actress.
Reverse.
Oh, VA. I thought Virginia.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Her Veterans Administration.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Mhm. Very nice. Caleb says people like Kelly Sue only write for themselves and as their own personal therapy to project their hatred for their marriages.
That's
Did she
hilarious.
really? Okay, honestly, did she really mess up Aquaman?
Yes.
Can you mess up
Okay.
Aquaman?
Exactly.
She made him afraid of water. He cannot go in the water.
No, really?
Yes, that
I
happened.
thought he can't live unless he got at
Well,
least
it's
like
the same
24 hours
stupid
of water.
Nightwing, I can't jump anymore. Bullshit.
He's good at taking showers. Like he can't go a day with not taking a shower, right?
Dan Abnett's
Make it
Aquaman
easy.
was actually really good.
Kelly's
With
giving
the
him a
sword
golden
and the
shower.
lantern?
Jesus.
Yeah.
No.
If you consider breaking a comic book, dumping the sales by 25% in 2 issues, then she definitely broke fucking Aquaman. They
Well-
immediately went down.
That was all right. So seriously, let's be
Mhm.
real. When I heard that she was doing that, I thought to myself, or out loud even, there's no Kelly Sue DeConnick fan that's going to buy Aquaman.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's not really
None
bitch
of
planet. It's
No,
not
none
Captain
of
Marvel. It's
them.
not
Well,
feminist.
she
So there
made
you go.
Mara the Star. She made Mara the Star in the book eventually. It wasn't Arthur.
Even still, none of them were going to go over and read Aquaman. All the pretty
Right.
deadly people, all the bitch planet people, all the people that read Captain Marvel. Marvel people sometimes don't buy DC comics, so you already are cutting off those people. And on top of it, we're talking about Aquaman.
Man, Aquaman's good. I'm tired of the hate, man.
No hate. I got
Oh,
some of my favorite stuff. The Arcudi stuff with who is the artist on Green Lantern Corps with Tomasi?
Pat
The guy who
Gleason.
doesn't.
Gleason?
Oh, you got to get those. San Diego goes underwater. They call it Sub Diego.
Sub Diego, yes.
flooded.
Remember that. Yeah.
So good. So good.
People dump on
That's-
Aquaman. Not cool.
So, but I'm talking about sales. I'm talking.
I don't like
about-
Aquaman with the hook hand though.
Well, that was you can blame Dark Knight Returns for that and Watchmen and all that stuff. We got to make Aquaman edgy, Peter David said.
We haven't had an
All
Aquaman
right.
solo series in over 2 years now, Yule. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
Ah, come on, man.
I only had one standing always order for Aquaman.
Caleb says sometimes by accident in a good and smart way, most of the girl branded fan bases are boys, like Sailor Moon fans.
Really?
Very disturbing.
I mean, I don't know if you go to BronyCon, is it 50% dudes?
You tell
don't
me.
know, but
I don't know. The only person on this panel that would go to BronyCon
apparently
is
it's mostly
Eric.
a male thing.
I have
did
a
ask Trish Forstner.
customer. I have a customer that's involved in that, but I've never asked the specific questions about it. All I know is that
I'm not
Pete
looking down
Pony
on BronyCon. If that's
is
your
down.
thing, that's your thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Right.
me either.
Dress up like a My Little Pony. Do your thing.
Is that what they do? I think they just take their stuffed animal. They buy stuffed animals there. Is what they do.
Well,
I think
I
they
do
do
know.
ponies.
Yeah, they do because Trish Forstner, she was on the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic comic, and she was there selling her comics, and apparently she did very well. But I can ask her to see if she knows. What the
I
fan
bet
base
she
is like.
did.
I believe they have like
Awesome.
little like side ponies, like the My Little Ponies and stuff.
It's crazy.
But I don't look down on those people the same way I don't look down on Eric for having a Tyler Durden outfit. Do your thing.
We don't talk about my Fight Club outfit. The first rule of Fight Club cosplay is we don't talk about my Fight Club outfit. The second rule.
Is that how it works in manga, Kerry? That the stuff that's made for girls, like was it the food truck book?
Shoujo. The food
What's the
stuff.
food book?
Like
Food
crazy
truck?
food truck.
Crazy
That's
Food
it.
Truck. Is half the audience male?
That's a male targeted book, but
That's
a-
an actual comic. That's an actual manga about a. Food
it's
truck.
actually really good. Eric
Yeah.
can tell you because he.
Both Uel and Kerry got me turned on to this. It's 3 volumes, Drew, and just it's fun. It's like Mad
Action-packed.
Max.
centered
and
around a
it's got
food truck. A food truck.
Really, yeah,
And like a
it's-
Mad Max atmosphere, yes.
and it's
Oh,
got
yeah.
a really cute Anjino. You know what I mean? And an anime girl, if you're into that.
What about
I
Dick
am.
Fight Island? Is that mostly dudes?
That's
Wait,
a
what?
specific
Certain
group of
dudes.
dudes.
Maybe
Am I
chicks.
mixing this stuff? Because
And
I see a
Perch.
book called Dick Fight Island, and I don't think guys
Wait,
are supposed to read this. That's weird.
What? That's an actual title.
It's
Yeah.
LGBT.
All right, so
I have no idea.
Adult.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's not talk about that then. That's weird.
another thing is that I bet
Did a review.
the majority of people that bought Playboy were men, and I have no doubt that the majority of people that bought Playgirl
The
were
girl
men also.
were men as well. Yes,
There you go.
that's the little thing no one told Shawn Michaels.
There's your
when he signed
manga.
up for that. You know what I mean?
even if like I think there's nothing wrong with a woman, and we should be inviting them to read comic books. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I mean,
I'm good for it.
We should
More
even
girls the better.
be trying
But I
to
don't think we should
suggest, come on in
change
and
it.
buy this. Exactly.
There's quality
It's like
stuff.
the busy reality is this. It is something that I guess dudes just do, at different ages in their lives. And sometimes women are along for the ride on that one. And sometimes it blows up and it gets really popular. But if the material isn't there, they're not going to stick around. We stick around because this is what dudes do, I guess. I assume.
Buying Playgirl magazine.
That too.
You talk about comic
Okay.
books.
I'm
I'm back on comic books. Sorry.
looking for Cherry Pops. I'm looking for Cherry Pop Tot back issues myself.
You know that Shawn Michaels issue was really good.
Nerd says, I heard that OG Young Justice was made for girls, but got shuttered at the end of season 2 because it got popularity with boys.
What?
That doesn't
What?
make
Well,
sense.
it had like 5
No, it doesn't make
seasons, didn't it?
Yeah.
4 seasons.
Oh wait, OG Young Justice. Yeah, you don't know about animation. That stuff is crazy. And from what I understand, they were like, Teen Titans is the way. I saw videos on it, so take this with a grain of salt. The Cartoon Network was like, we got like 2 hits, and we got to keep playing them all the time. So all that other stuff was getting shit canned. And if that's the same thing, then that could be.
I can't imagine
That's
you
Reboot.
closing a program down because it got more popular with another audience and it got bigger. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the hope. That's why when
Yes.
Doc and I were saying is like, you got 500 people and you're selling 400 to men and 100 to women. Doc was like, well, you want it to be 250, 250. I was like, no, you want it to be 400, 400. You want to gain the new audience without losing the old audience.
Yeah.
And, if they lost their girl audience while attracting a boy audience, maybe they would shut it down because that's not what the program was supposed to do.
Well,
But they
I
just
mean,
naturally
yeah.
gain another audience. That's good.
I mean, it's weird when you're like, just for girls, and then boys are buying it, just for girls. I mean,
Like
you
My
can't
Little
help
Pony.
who likes what music there is or what art is. You know, I mean, that's what it is.
I mean,
it's art.
look,
I can
girls
tell you
got-
right now, I can look him in the eye and I can see it. Uel Carter had a Cabbage Patch doll.
I did
bet.
not. No way.
Yes, you did.
I don't do dolls. You're
Look,
crazy.
See it.
Action
Girls
figures
got-
only.
Girls got She-Ra because He-Man became popular with girls.
Yeah, and then when
Yeah.
the sisters were having to watch the cartoon with their brother.
But the difference between She-Ra and He-Man is you got like real hair on your characters because you wanted to comb the hair, and we
Partial
don't
hair,
like
yeah.
that. So you're playing with
He-Man
dolls. is what
rode a
you're doing.
fucking
I'm playing
cat with
an
armor
action
on it.
figure.
We got the win on that one. Keep the hair.
We used to have
Battle
arguments
Cat.
about what were action figures and what were dolls, and my buddy would be like, "A classic GI Joe is an action figure," and I'm all, "No, it's a doll. He has
That's a
real
doll.
hair." And there
Yeah.
you go.
Unchangeable
You
clothes,
can change his outfit. He's a doll.
accessories. Yeah.
Oh man, you kind of fucking with me there. All right, Cal, what you said about being lazy? Most female leads are gay and unlikable Mary Sue's.
Is it most really?
Bi.
modern,
Mostly bi.
most modern female leads?
Yeah,
So
you
Yeah, I would go
You want
for
to
it,
you want to you want to fall in love with Carol Danvers all over again? Go get one of her early like 1978 issues of Ms. Marvel. On
Well, talk
You're
about
gonna be
Carol
like, really
Danvers, a
bam.
character that had so many flaws that she was trying to overcome. Like,
Yeah, just read the Brian Reed comics from the early 2000s that you brought up. Those are fantastic. I've got all the trade paperback collections here of that run. It's amazing and amazing art. Aaron Lopresti, yeah, Greg Horn on the covers, Frank Cho. Yeah, great stuff.
Oh yeah, that Frank Cho stuff. That's right.
very nice. Next up, we have HH the boys at Sigma Comics. Shout out to all from Fan Expo Cleveland. Back on the road, and thanks to all who made Here Comes Calico Volume 3 manga a success. Keep it, I think, critical and indies. That's
Rock
awesome.
and roll. Hello,
Congratulations
Cleveland.
on the successful campaign, and I hope you're enjoying Cleveland. Maybe you catch a baseball game. Are they at home right now?
Ooh,
I love
that's
baseball.
fun. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
If you had a choice between seeing the Cleveland Indians and going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, what would you do, Sully?
I'd go see the. I would. You'd have to go see the Cleveland Guardians now because they changed
Oh
their
yeah,
name.
that's right. They changed the name.
Out of-
I would
because
go
they
to the baseball game. I love the dog and the.
I
you know,
love going to
drink.
baseball. I saw a baseball game there. They were playing. The Red Sox were playing in Cleveland. We hopped in the car and drove all day just to go see a Red Sox game and stay overnight. And apparently, if you can quote the movie Major League the way that we can, you will make lots of friends in Cleveland.
Hey, nice.
Yes.
So I know in Ohio you can go. Is Skyline Chili in Cleveland? Is that a thing there too?
It's in Cincinnati.
don't
I know that.
know.
It should be in Cleveland.
You know what Skyline Chili is, Sully?
Oh yeah,
No,
we
I
got
They
don't.
take spaghetti
what?
noodles and they
Wow.
put chili on top of it,
Ooh.
like
Sounds
Texas
good.
style chili.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, are
You're
you a big
missing out,
fan of
man.
that too,
It's
Drew?
amazing.
It's
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
absolutely. We've got Skyline here in Indy. There's like one right down the road from me. It's fantastic.
I thought it was only an Ohio thing.
No,
Are they
it's
branching
here in
out?
Indiana too. Oh yeah, it's here in Indiana.
I thought
too.
Indiana was for lovers.
because they
Did
love
you
chili.
say SpaghettiOs and chili?
No, spaghetti noodles. Chili over the top
Oh yeah, I've
instead of
totally done
spaghetti
that.
sauce.
Yeah. Okay.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it's great. It's poor man's food.
Man, definitely go to Skyline Chili. Get you some of that good stuff. Ideator says you can't force a market to happen. The decisions made by the mainstream to cater to women is all wrong. I watched Sailor Moon and Korra, and I'm a man.
Are you though?
Are you really?
Are you really?
Is there something
Because,
wrong
like,
with
are you
Sailor
lying
Moon?
to me?
I watched
that?
Gem and the
What's
Holograms. That was a great show. Gem and the
What?
Holograms was a really fun show, and that was like in the 80s, and it had original music. And
I like Rainbow Bright.
You know, there's nothing wrong with liking girls' shows. You know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with it, but I think Ideator, I mean, in my store, the majority of people that bought Sailor Moon were girls, you know, women or girls. And Korra is related to Avatar, right? The Last Airbender. So
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense there. But again, it's no slam about reading Sailor Moon, but the majority of people that came in the store were girls to buy that. And I don't think I think you're the outlier on that one.
No, I don't think that's what he's saying. You cater
Oh,
your
I
product
see.
who you cater your product to, and if other people show up, they show up. But you don't
Oh,
change
yeah, without a
things
doubt.
because
Well,
then you ended up breaking it. Can you imagine if they
scholars-
decided Sailor Moon needs to be a male property now?
Uh-uh.
I mean, they've already got the outfit down, but you're gonna
Yeah,
have to
you
change
don't
the
change it.
stories.
I see. I mean, we could do that. I mean, let's just do the whole gender swap altogether and say, oh, well, now finally Wonder Woman's cool now that he's a dude. Superman, Batman suck all of a sudden.
Batman has been terrible.
It
Sully, do you
has.
have a Sailor Moon cosplay costume?
No, but
Would you?
Would I?
Yeah,
Wow, how much money are we talking?
What size super chat you have to set?
$20 is $20. That's what we say around here. So,
$20.
$20.
$20 Hans in this one?
The people in Massachusetts are
I don't
cheap
know.
if it's 20.
Jeez, I don't have the legs. I'd have to say no, Wes, because I do not have the legs for that anymore.
I don't believe that at all.
It's like the Rock has to wear. He's beyond trunks too.
You're
we're
like
the same
Rock.
age. You know what I mean? I don't want
Remember
to.
when Rock had his like liposuction
so-
or whatever, and he had to wear that shirt for like a year and a half?
Yeah, he got like a third boob or something like that.
He's getting some
Yeah.
moves.
It's like,
Had a good
wait, 3 boobs. He has another, another. He could have been a star of a different proportion if you thought about that.
I still like Total Recall. That's a great scene.
The most electrifying move, man in 3 titty action.
Yeah. Gallup says Mariko Tamaki, I think, takes the win for self-insert. She was on the writing team for that Godzilla series on Apple TV, and she wrote the worst episode.
Wasn't
Didn't
Matt
see it.
Fraction also on that?
He's like, I thought he was the main writer.
Yeah.
As his
Is
real
that a
name
bad
too.
series? Is it? I heard
Supposedly it's
like-
good, but I don't watch anything on Apple TV. That's like probably the worst streaming service I've ever used in my life.
I don't know.
I can't talk about what I don't know. I mean, in a movie
Yeah.
or a TV, I just don't really care. I mean, no offense, but if she comes into a comic book, and I don't read Tamaki comics usually.
Yeah. Matt Fraction is one of the co-creators of the series. Yeah.
Yeah, good
I mean,
for
it was a bigger
him.
deal.
Finally, that's why
But-
we're not getting too much.
I remember when they announced that Green Lantern book, and everyone said, "What the fuck?" And DC actually didn't make it. That was a smart move. Remember that one, Yule? She was supposed to be doing it with PKJ. And they
What was
put it
she
on
gonna
Teen
do?
Adams.
Gonna do
She
what?
was going to do the Hal Jordan Green Lantern book that we're getting now. They announced it for Dawn of
Oh,
DC.
really? I do not remember that at all. See, there you go, everybody. We get all worried about the things that are going to happen in the future, and it doesn't always happen.
Maybe they listen to people. Calvin said episode 4, and she turned one of the characters into herself, and it was badly received because nothing happened.
So, like a chunky Asian lady that likes girls.
I don't.
So like the
watch this
Starfire comic she wrote.
Oh yeah, I'm not Starfire. You can still make a video on that book, and a lot of people will watch it because they hated it so much.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'll do that.
You should definitely do that one. you can still talk about that. Like there's that book really pissed a lot of people off. Deservedly so. It wasn't very good.
Yeah.
All the right people,
Yeah.
or the people
Yeah,
on the
pissed all the
right,
right people off.
or all just people on the right.
I don't know
That's
why.
me being clever.
There's
still.
still. So I saw Comic Book Bob. He's all buddy of mine. He's all self-inserts are never good, but I think that's not always true.
Correct,
And what I think is like you have to have elements of yourselves in that character, hopefully, to give it a little. You want write what you know, right?
Right.
But
Yeah,
we
like-
are doing superhero characters. But
Mhm.
if you read Animal Man, that's a lot of Grant Morrison in that, and it only helps that character. And not only that, he gets in situations where like all the good writers, like Chuck Dixon and Claremont and Roger Stern, they can present a side that isn't that's opposite, and not always be like a bad thing. Like there's two opposing points of view and we're butting heads, but we can still get the job done. Or maybe you find out you're not as cool as you think you are, and that totally happens in that book. So that's one thing. I'm sure there's others that we can find.
No, there are definitely good self-insert characters. Warren Ellis has done a lot of good self-insert characters.
Agreed.
Pete Wisdom is the one that stands out as being kind of bad.
Jack Hawksmoor too, I think, and Spider Jerusalem himself.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing
that's
when
all
you're
Warren.
creating the character as opposed to going on and taking Spider-Man on. All of a sudden he's not a guy that speaks in New Yorkese or something like that.
Yeah, or when you do a Hawk Girl book and you throw your character Destiny in there, and the book becomes about Destiny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we saw that all those like Silver Surfer and Warlock Legacies are basically what this one comic book maybe like. Hey, Ron Lim and Ron Mars do Marvel Space. That's what it could have been called. Instead, it's just like all these characters kind of converging around these mini series that they're doing.
Very nice. King KDI, on a working holiday, purchasing and developing some land. Here's the question. If the price dropped, would these activist books be more popular?
No. Not if the quality's bad.
Well, I think if the price drop, more people are definitely willing to take a risk, right?
It depends, man. I mean, like for me, it's about.
Are they the only books that are $2? Because if Spider-Man's also $2, people are not going to pay attention to it then. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, yeah. Why? Like, what's wrong with this book that it's extra cheap? I mean, I want the good stuff. I'll pay $5 for that.
It reminds me of the opening scene of what was that, Star Trek Beyond?
Uh-huh.
They want me to present you with this. What's wrong with it? Is it broken? Like, why would they do that? Like,
I mean, not all of these books sell poorly. Like I said, Sensational She-Hulk is doing okay for me. Hawk Girl didn't. Mostly it's the DC ones that kind of stink. But I have people that buy Poison Ivy. I have my Catwoman purchasers, and stuff like that. I don't ask them why they're reading it or if they're enjoying it that often. No, I should not. I'm not here to make you think about the book that you buy. I'm here to try and sell you something else.
Harley Quinn has been terrible for a really long time.
Holy cow. But was she ever really good? I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't read Harley Quinn even when it was good. So I have no clue.
Well, the bottom dropped out on the sales if they were ever there, right?
When they had that wrestling issue and Guillaume March did the cover and she's dropping that elbow, I picked up that one. And when they did the marijuana scented annual, I got that one. Those sold well. I'll have you know.
What do you think about the wrestling dude from the Cosmic or the Cosmos in DC showing up in Green Lantern again in the search for Lobo?
Wait. Oh, in the
Green Lantern 11 this week in the backup issue.
Yeah,
the wrestler from Flash is in there with Guy Gardner.
I haven't read the issue yet. All right, I'm down.
Fun. Oh, you're gonna love it. And we get Kevin McGuire art.
Oh yeah, I had a customer. He texted me. He's all, that Lobo story sucked. And I'm like, oh really? And I laughed at him because like I kind of built it on the premise that if you want to read something, you should read this.
Me, I ignore the backup stories. After I read Gotham Girl Interrupted, and then I read the Joker Shit Baby, and then a couple of the Tom King Trinity backup. I was like, nah, you didn't sell me on this idea. It did not work out well. But I did check out that because that did tie into the House of Brainiac stuff this week.
That's my next read. Yeah. Cool.
Finally, Caleb says Kelly Sue destroyed Wonder Woman because the story is just her hatred for men. Will she divorce? As far as I know, she and Matt Fraction are perfectly happy. They got 2 kids.
Yeah, man.
I've seen them on the red carpet.
They're gonna get divorced.
Getting married was their 13th step.
I don't know. I assume that they're happy, but I did not like her story. It wasn't a very good book. Hopefully, it sold because it was really expensive.
So someone who took different facets of history and tried to combine it as one who didn't understand, it just doesn't understand. Like, no, that's not how it works with Wonder Woman. You can't
Wonder Woman's supposed to be a
pick and choose.
Greek character, and they're throwing all kinds of stupid shit into that one.
Yeah,
got a little confusing. But I don't think Wonder Woman Historia was a cry for help from Kelly Sue DeScotic that Matt Fraction's a terrible husband. I think it was just an admittance that she doesn't understand Wonder Woman and she would like her to be something else. It's kind of the way I took the book.
I sold it. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
That's all you should care about because you're a businessman.
That's right.
You're not here to police the quality.
No, Black Label. Right. See, like we could talk about, she destroyed Wonder Woman and all this stuff. I could just go to all of the Black Label and pretty much it's this way. It's just none of it's special.
I would say Clune Rat destroyed Wonder Woman. That was
oof.
Somehow she ended up in like Valhalla. Like,
Yeah, I
she's
remember
not
that.
Norse.
Yeah, I was like, all
going on
right, I'll
here?
read this for a couple issues, and the art's nice, but yikes.
But they got to fight men who were wearing red hats and were seduced by Milk. Milk was a bad guy. Milk was very evil.
That's after she comes back from Valhalla. But yeah, the Milk
Yes.
God
that was hot.
was awful.
Yeah, that was a good one.
God, I'm glad I stopped reading Wonder Woman.
You should get back to it with Tom King's Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah,
It's,
totally.
I tried that. No.
No, it's new story arc starting next week. You'll be down. Come on, remember, only Wonder Woman is assured of being printed, so you don't have to buy that one.
It's true.
But all the other
Never
ladies,
thought that far.
all the other ladies, you have to keep buying.
No.
We did get some more updates on X-Men. Obviously, we knew about X-Men from Jed McKay, Uncanny X-Men from Gail Simone. We had Exceptional X-Men from Eve Ewing. This week, we learned we're getting X-Force from Jeff Thorne. And then we're getting Phoenix from
Stephanie
Phillips. And then NYX from Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig.
Oh,
And I've recorded a video
God.
of this with Jim, who's having a conniption fit. It's absolutely hilarious. It's really funny. It'll be up tomorrow. But I said during the video, you know, I might have been underwhelmed by the rollout of the 3 flagship books, but I don't think there's a word to describe how I feel about this. It's just like it's the same terrible writers moving over.
Uninterested.
In hyping up the Jean Grey writer and the NYX writer, they used Hot Shot twice. And if Comic Bob's still in the chat, please tell people what a hot shot is, because I know you watch AEW. Yeah, not good. Not good at all.
NYX was going to be hard to sell to begin with, Uel.
Yeah.
Whether they had like an Art Germ cover or a J. Scott Campbell cover or fucking Alex Ross on the cover for the first issue, it was going to be a hard sell. But then you see the makeup of the team, and it's X-23 in a racism book with Miss Marvel, and then Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig. I was like, wow, this really is
Those are the guys that do. They do Outsiders, right?
Yeah. And
You guys love that book, right?
Is it selling? I don't think anyone.
No, you guys love that book. I mean,
well, he's trying to be Warren Ellis, or they're trying to be Warren Ellis on Planetary. It's awful.
Yeah. I picked up the recent issue, and I looked inside, and it was so much text that I'm like, why am I not reading a book instead? You know.
And that was the strongest issue of the series so far, Outsiders number 6, because it really ties back into Planetary now. We have a reveal, you know what I mean? And things happen, like, if you know what limbo means in the DC universe, well, pack your bags. We're going to limbo, kids. And we're going to see old friends, you know, like Zoriel, the angel from Grant Morrison's JLA.
So NYX is good? You think it's going to be okay, is what you're saying?
Me? Oh, Jack.
That's what Sully said. Sully said NYX is going to be great because he's a big fan.
I hear that.
Because we got girls and we got Manhattan.
Verbatim.
And...
It should be as good as the last issue of Outsiders, at least, right?
I don't know. Lansing and Kelly actually did a pretty decent job on Guardians of the Galaxy. I've never been a fan of that title, and I read their last run, especially with that Kev Walker art. It was pretty darn good, and so I like giving them crap when they deserve it, especially for the first 3 issues of Thunderbolts. That was just terrible, and the first couple of issues of Outsiders were kind of lackluster as well. Yet, I mean, give credit where credit's due.
I want you to go read their
of,
Captain
they were.
America. I want you to read their Bloodshot. There's a lot of stuff you need to get through. Go read Dan Abbott's Guardians of the Galaxy and then come back to me.
Yeah.
Is that the best Guardians of the Galaxy run ever, Yul? Dan Abbott, or is it Valentina?
I'm not a fan of any Guardians of the Galaxy, just to let you all know. So I
the
really
movie?
am not the person. I'm not a fan of any Guardians of the Galaxy, just to let you all know. So I'm not the person to be judging any of this stuff.
Well,
When I heard that they were doing a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I said, how can you make a movie based on the lowest of the low superhero teams? And obviously you don't use those characters.
You go the Dan Abbott run.
And then, you mean the one that, like, that's not Drax, and that's not this, and I'm not a fan.
My goodness, man, this stream took a turn for the worse there. I
If
did not.
Peter David's not writing those characters, I probably wouldn't read them. You know what I mean?
But if you go out and you pre-order NYX and you throw it on your pull list because Sully gave you the stamp of approval, I'm just saying do so at your own risk.
That's
You're
right.
talking
I'm not
adjacent,
backing him up
man.
on that.
I'm not.
Blame Sully.
The president of
blame
the
me,
Jackson
please.
Lands Fan
Bring
Club.
it.
I don't expect to order it heavy. Just to let everybody know. If you shop at my store, don't expect to get it if you don't ask for it.
I don't think anyone ever asked for a return to NYX. It wasn't a good concept when they tried it the first time.
Yeah.
It's just like, why didn't they call it Gen X? At least there's some like name
History.
cachet to that.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a Bishop NYX where he was like the detective of the mutant population? Oh, was that it? Does it ring a bell?
Yeah, it's when they
Kinda
got
sort of-
relegated to like a little decimated city block or something. It's like
Yeah.
it's like I think it was after like the
Mutantville or
No More
whatever they
Mutants
call
thing when
that.
there's a few of them, or maybe it's right before that. Yeah,
Yeah. I think
Oh,
you're right.
man.
didn't take.
Yeah,
So
it's not
Drew-
looking good for X-Men.
Which one do you think is going to be the Jeff Thorne's X-Force? Is it going to be the Stephanie Phillips Phoenix, or is it going to be Colin Kelly Jackson Lanzig NYX? Which one is the one to buy?
The Wolverine with Greg Capullo's art.
Probably. I mean,
That wasn't the choice.
I made my own.
I'm
don't
gonna say
know the
Jeff
writer.
Thorne.
It's gonna be
Honestly,
Saudi
as much as I didn't like Jeff Thorne's Green Lantern thing he did, he completely fundamentally broke Green Lantern. I have a feeling he's going to do the same thing with X-Force. I hope he doesn't, but that may be the most interesting one, the most decent one, I think.
It didn't
We'll see
sound
what
like
happens, but
X-Force,
the other
though, did
ones
it?
I have no confidence in whatsoever. No, it doesn't sound like X-Force at all. That's why it's Jeff Thorne, because he's fundamentally changing and breaking it. This is what he did with Green Lantern.
Is
So I'm expecting
Forge
him
getting a
to
team
break
together to
X-Force and
fix
break the
stuff
X-Men, make it.
instead of a Black Ops team.
That's
Well,
what Forge
weird
does on his own.
Yeah.
Forge fixes things on his own. He's good at that.
I think
don't
Jean Grey is the one to go for, believe it or not. Stephanie Phillips has sometimes not written a shitty script, and it's Jean
That's
Grey.
true.
True.
Her
If I was
first
going to
issue
say,
of Harley Quinn, Future State was good. I thought
Sometime.
Catwolf and the
I
Howling
did-
Commandos was
yeah.
good.
Cap-
Was okay. Yeah, agree.
but so like, and then so let's take it back to what we were talking about before. We're talking about women readership. This would be one of those books that might possibly be one to target to women. If you're going to do an X book, you know what I mean?
But how will they target it to women? That's my question.
Well, I don't know about how, if we're talking about advertising and outreach and stuff like that, it's probably going to be the same old shit it usually is, dependent on the comic store ordering it, dependent on persons talking on social media so that people know about it. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, some online advertisement or in-book advertisement, and then that's it. I mean, I can't think of what else. What Bleeding Cool?
The characters
It'll be on the.
the
No,
characters
I
are
meant
gonna have
like
Etsy
story.
profiles.
Like what's there going to be their selling point in the story to women? Because is it going to be Phoenix?
Well, I don't
going
know
through,
about
like,
the
some
selling
female
point.
crisis and needs to meet up a storm at the coffee shop to talk about this. What are we talking?
Well, I don't know exactly. What are we talking? How is this going to go? If it's just going to be same old stuff, then it won't be targeting to anybody really, other than the person who just has to have every superhero comic or every Jean Grey comic,
Right.
or it's a pretty cover. It's so depressing to say things like that.
I
but it might be good. So what I'm saying is
It could
the
be.
hope is that this first issue will be good. And it's Jean Grey is a likable character, and she's been dead, and I haven't really been reading the other X-Men. So let's say I'm jumping on. This is definitely a book I might want to pick up if I'm looking for side stuff. You know, I was saying there's Marvel people and there's DC people. Well, there's Batman people, there's Spider-Man only people, there's X-Men only people, and that's one of the reasons why there's always so many titles of X-Men these days, because they realize that these are a subsection of the people that buy comic books. There's someone that buys all Marvel, buys all superhero, and then there's people that only buy X-Men comics. And there you go. That's how it kind of works. And this is I don't know. Again, NYX doesn't thrill me. X-Force doesn't thrill me. Never did before. And Jean Grey is the only one that I would hang my hat on. These three solely.
None of this stuff. Actually, the only thing that's going to stay on my pull list is going to be Wolverine, because I'm willing to give Greg Capullo a shot because I love his art. I miss him. So I'm willing to stick with him as long as he's on the book. But I mean, just it just feels like, oh no, it's more of the same. The Krakoan age is over, and now we have this diaspora of we have like different cities. We have satellites, like different X offices. Didn't we do that before? Having X offices everywhere.
It's like Doc was saying on Twitter, it feels like they're just shuffling the cards and not getting a new deck.
Yeah, I'm one of those throwbacks. I wanted a new deck. I wanted a redo. Everyone gets one more life. And
did you want to go back to the school? Did you want to go back to man? Because I've heard a lot of people that don't want that.
Danger room. Yeah, I want that.
I want the danger room. Where's the danger room?
Yes, please. I want.
I don't want to go through
stuff.
all this just to go back there. Is what I hear a lot of people say.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that they like what they're reading right
deal.
now. It's just we're talking about what we're doing going forward. And if it was just to go back there, then nothing that I read is important now. You know what I mean? I feel that's what they're getting at.
I would slightly disagree because we're seeing that in X-Men 97 where we are.
That's what I was going to say.
We have the characters who they are. It's like they've brought in fans like they're giving the fans what they want.
A typical version.
It's
a more
iconic.
And they need to capitalize on that.
All right, I can only go by X-Men the animated when it came out in the 90s. Okay. And if this cartoon is anything like that, then you're full of it. Because all they were doing was taking the orange that is the X-Men for 50 issues and squeezing it and reshuffling it so that it made sense for kids. And if this is anything like that, then it can't be any of that. I don't care. That's not fan service to me because I don't like that. You know what I mean? So
there's a lot of elements in this show that are not for kids, especially the last episode.
Exactly,
it was not for kids. Yeah,
but I don't know. I just saying is I don't think I can agree with that sentiment just based on what has come before. This could be the greatest thing ever, but I don't think it's real X-Men.
Well, I read X-Men 97 issue 1 2 weeks ago. And
that issue is terrible. Do not read. Really? If you like the animated series, do not read the comic. I hated that.
That was just nice traditional X-Men. It was one of the most straight up, easy to read and enjoyable X-Men stories I've read in a while. Just because it was like, oh gosh, there are my old friends. Nothing too complicated. None of this luggage of any modern continuity. Something really accessible. And you can jump right in. And they're likable, too.
I've read the first 2 issues of X-Men 97, the comic books. I think they're fine. I'm not recommending them, but if you're liking the show and that's what it is, there's nothing wrong with it. Pretty all right. Do you think I'm crazy, Drew?
Maybe.
No, look, all I'm going to say is you clearly the writing staffs on the animated series compared to the actual comic book is vastly, vastly different because there is life and character in those characters in the animated series. It is completely devoid of that in the comic. It feels like it's literally written by a computer, someone with no human emotion in the comic.
Yeah, Steve Fox.
It's the best work he's ever done in his life.
Well, so whatever he's doing next, we should pick up, definitely.
That's not saying a lot.
He's going up. I've seen bad writers get good. I thought Cullen Bunn was unreadable at Marvel Comics, and some of the horror stuff that he does on the indie scene now is pretty damn good now. I thought his Shadow Man was good, so.
His Shadow Man was terrific.
Yeah, Shadow Man was really good. Terrific.
Yeah, so. One of the things, maybe Steve Fox is the one to look out for after X-Men 97 not being terrible. I think it's pretty average. So, I don't know. They're having a hard time getting people excited for this X-Men reboot. I'm just saying that. It feels like all the rejects that were on Avengers books are just coming over to X-Men now. So let's hear for the peeps. Mr. DC Comics currently reading the monster-sized omnibus of Hellboy. What are your thoughts on Hellboy, and what other supernatural characters do you recommend?
Well, you said Shadow Man. That's a good one.
I like Shadow Man. I'm not the world's biggest Hellboy fan.
Yeah.
I like the movie.
Yeah, agreed.
Mike Mignola's art is really cool and it's really stylized, but I've tried to get into Hellboy. It just never happened. It never took for me.
I like BPRD actually better than Hellboy, which is the Bureau of Paranormal blah blah blah. And they go out and they see different things. And there was different times when there were like big monsters, so like kaiju type stuff, and then other like horror based stuff. That one's I'm a big fan of. You should definitely, if you haven't ever read Hellblazer, any Vertigo from the 90s is definitely something you should read.
Is Saga the Swamp Thing? Is that supernatural?
I would.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the predecessor to Vertigo.
I've ever read.
I mean, Vertigo starts in 1993, and you had this whole host of the immature DC books like Hellblazer, Swamp Thing, and Sandman, and they
Doom Patrol, Animal Man.
Oh my god! Dude. So not every Doc isn't here, so I can say this. Just joking. Anything Grant Morrison, dude. That's
Listen, Grant Morrison screwed over the Authority and is forever dated.
No.
Yeah, I understand.
I understand.
Wildcats.
It's hard to heal.
He was doing both of them.
Oh,
I know. I've been hearing about it from Doc for like 5 years now.
Well, he's right.
He's never gonna get over it.
But I mean, we're talking about Wildcats. You know what I mean?
But definitely, Saga of the Swamp Thing, greatest supernatural story I've ever read.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh my god, it blew my mind when I read that first issue. You know, I'm reading it, and it's just like, what? Oh my god! And I'm such a kid at the time.
I still think the Anatomy Lesson issue, illustrated by Stephen Bissett, is the best illustrated comic book I've ever seen in my life.
Bissett's great.
I like when Swamp Thing takes down the JLA. You know what I mean? He's just like that was just like, wow! I didn't see that coming. I didn't know
the first time I saw the Pharaonic Man being pretty floored, being like, that thing is disgusting. What a hideous beast. So, we don't have any Hellboy fans because I know Jimmy from Comic Quirks, or is he Cinema Quirks now? He's the biggest Hellboy fan I know.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I mean, I like selling it. The issues that I have are drawn by Duncan Fegredo, speaking of a Vertigo artist, and Richard Corbin. RIP, and those are because I like reading somebody do Hellboy better than Mignola.
Gallup says everyone's gay, blah blah blah. These people are so predictable.
I roll a lot. It's like a thrown in comment that just didn't need to be there, and I'm like, did I ever in the past read something? Oh, my girlfriend, or oh, my wife, or something, and maybe my baby. I don't know.
Oh, my baby is something that a woman would definitely scream out once the baby is taken by a villain and Spider-Man needs to show up. Yes, but
I can't think of like, oh, my loved one. No, I don't really remember that. Unless
you're
like
my partner.
At a wedding, oh, my partner. Well, I'm just trying to like make it amorphous so that it doesn't really matter what we're talking about. Just I don't remember that, but. Like, I don't remember a Jerry Conway Spider-Man where there was something so specific about, oh, my this, unless it was like a baby or the briefcase or purse that got stolen or something like that.
I remember a baby getting trapped inside of a bank vault, and it might have been Spider-Man. That was fantastic. Yeah. That's stuff used to be normal. Remember Baby's Day Out? When he got lost in New York City? That was good.
You can't do that now. Look what they did to the Flash. I mean, you can't have babies in peril.
No, that was with the
microwave. It was the microwave part of
microwave baby is not.
But I don't care. I thought it was
great. The friction would have burned the baby. He did the right thing.
Exactly. You're 100% right. The only place that could shield it enough. I mean, other than a safe would have been better, but there was no safe in this situation.
It was like the opening of Roger Rabbit. I'll save you, baby. It was that.
I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit about a month ago with my kids. They did not like it, but my wife and I loved it.
Ooh.
I love that movie.
Love that movie.
Great.
You have to have a working knowledge of Looney Tunes, I think,
Yes.
and that's been erased from.
Plus, it's not really
society.
like a cartoon movie. It's actually like a 1940s like
Noir.
period piece with cartoon characters.
It's pretty
as part
dark.
of the setting. Yeah.
Being 16 is a good age
shoe
to
scene.
understand it a bit more.
Yeah.
I think it's not that it isn't for kids, but they're just not going to care.
Yeah.
People always get worried about what kids, can read or watch. They don't read or watch anything they don't want to, and it didn't stop me from getting, Playboys or whatever before I was allowed to buy them. I mean, does everybody have that field where they found that where they found or were told that magazine was, or
Absolutely.
something?
We had a stash. Up
I mean, I
yeah.
didn't really care at that time. It's no big deal, you guys, you older kids, or whatever. But when it's time, unfortunately, you can't stop them.
Yeah. My 4-year-old was borderline obsessed with Squid Games there for a minute. And we're like, no, cannot watch Squid Games. It's too violent. Too many bad things happening here. But he loved the big girl doll thing. So
That would have been.
that was rough. Galvin says, Wes, you still haven't reached out to Dan Abnett? I want to ask him questions like, is Gina Drake Singularity? What plan he has if Silencer wasn't canceled?
Ooh,
I've not read.
Silencer was pretty cool.
Silencer was a good book. They completely forgot about that character.
Dude, I was thinking about Damage the other day. That guy
That was a
pretty
good one.
Sweet. Yeah, and who else? Sideways was cool.
Mhm.
They used him or that other dude that hung out with him, that big blue monster, every once in a while when they're doing some stupid cosmic thing. But other than that,
Silencer,
they've ignored them.
I liked Damage, and I liked the Terrifics. Those are the three that I really
that
liked.
one was
Terrifics.
good, too.
There you go.
Yeah,
I wish
that
they
was
had
always a
interesting
short-lived
characters in
one.
Terrifics.
I'd love to see them bring back Tommy Morrison, the Hitman. I loved Garth Ennis's Hitman. That was just a wonderful time.
Metamorpho, underutilized character. I also like Plastic Man as well, but after what Gail Simone did to Plastic Man, we can't have him anymore.
That
We
Kyle
had the
Baker
Bolt.
stuff was great, though.
Yeah. Jeremy Smith, off topic. Be sure and tell Doc I found some good Peach Momoko art. That should make his day.
It makes my day. I love Peach Momoko stuff.
Momoko's
She's great.
Hey, by the
Doc
way,
likes Peach Momoko's art. He just doesn't like her writing.
you know what? Ultimate X-Men #2 this week, complete miss for me. And I'm going to bat for Peach Momoko, and I love her stuff.
Yeah,
Want to
can't
give her a
be-
chance, but I'm like, this one's just so flat for me. Oh, I'm sorry.
If I wasn't a reviewer, I wouldn't make it to issue 4. Let's put it that way. Because I am a reviewer, I've been told issue 4 is when it becomes X-Men. I will make it there, but if I imagine a lot of people canceled their Ultimate X-Men polls this week because it was.
I'm giving it a chance.
I'm
Just
about to.
weird.
It's just
it was
act
off.
and a
It's-
3-act story. So I'm there. Kerry.
At some point, you have to make it feel like X-Men, and hopefully, you do that in the first 2 issues. Like,
Why?
They don't.
Why? Why do you have to do that?
Ultimate X-Men. It has to be an X-Men comic book.
I felt like I picked up the wrong book.
We've
I felt
got
like I was
2
reading a manga
characters.
that had nothing to do with X-Men.
This is not the day of giant-sized X-Men when you have real big, quick origins of the characters and then them all getting together and then fighting the thing all in the same issue. That's just not the way comics are these days.
You have 2 characters.
I think
One of them, which
we have
isn't a
2
mutant.
characters and a villain. So,
And the second one, we're not. I'm assuming she is a mutant. Maybe she's the first one. May.
I mean,
But
just assuming. Anyway, it really, I thought it was pretty good. You guys are going crazy about the second issue.
I was not impressed at all. I was like, "What is going on here?"
You're getting you're soaking in the bath right now. Is what's going on.
Maybe it's the Shadow King, and
It is
if
the
that
Shadow
is,
King,
yeah,
yeah.
and I've never
It is-
been,
yeah, that's
never
sick.
liked any of the Shadow King stories. They're always a miss for me.
I agree there.
Well, that's
I
certainly
like
Shadow
that.
King.
Yeah.
With
But I
that
thought it
book.
was
Well,
creepy
Chris would
and
always
cool.
drag them out way too long.
It felt Japanese,
Yes,
and
that's
I
what I
liked
say.
it.
For like a
I liked
manga.
it. I
more.
thought it was cool. Yeah, it's just so different, and I think that's kind of special. Like, I love Spider-Man, and I love Superman, and I like superhero comic books, but I also like the alternative books that are out there. I don't like all of them, but I like them. And when a person I follow, let's just say Daniel Warren Johnson, he's a great example. When he comes on and does something, if that dude was doing a Captain Marvel comic, you goddamn well know I'm going to be buying that comic book. And I'm going to be loving it. So
I
like,
love
kind of,
indie books
like
and
that
alternatives,
comes in, and that's kind of what I feel like Ultimate X-Men is. You know, it's something.
but I don't
that
think
you
that's
would
what it's
not
supposed to
normally
be. You see X-Men
Well-
at the time, you expect an X-Men book.
Well, you expect it.
Well, I think just comic
I
book
saw
fans
Peach
expect it.
Momoko, and I expected that more. You know what I mean?
Well, I
That's what it's
expected the
called.
art.
It's called Ultimate X-Men.
You want a weird version of X-Men? Read Doom Patrol.
Yeah, it's like it
I don't know what to say. I
should
don't
be
know
called
how to, like,
Peach
express
Momoko's
myself
Idiosyncratic
properly.
Routines. There you go. This is what you got. And I
It's cute.
Should be a standalone book.
I think. Well, so as of right now, it is. You know, again, it's
But not
just the
connected.
old.
That's what I mean.
But
Well, we know that main
why?
character is going to be inspired by Storm. It's already been said in the
Yeah.
solicits.
I don't know. I'll come back to arguing about this later.
Calvin Set says, "Wish purchase here. I wanted to see his thoughts on Thorne's X-Force. I'll give Thorne's X-Force a chance. I feel bad for Prodigy and Anoli in NYX.
Yeah,
Well,
I feel
purchase
bad
here
for
with this
Prodigy.
here. You know, seriously.
Give it a try. That's what he'll say. Give it a try.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure
Thorne's
that
a good
I know
guy.
Perch
Good
and,
guy.
and Jeff are friends, and I'm sure he's heard what the pitch is and where they're going with it. And
Let me tell you, editorial isn't going to fuck him like he did on Green Lantern. That's
I
what he'll
don't
say.
believe that. But
Well, I
I also
tried.
wish Perch was here. Perch is a great guy. It's unfortunate he's feeling under the weather, but we'll have him back. We'll have him back on soon enough.
Hope he
We'll
feels
talk to
better.
him. Maybe we'll talk about Jeff Thorne's X-Force book. Mr. DC Comics, with Fantastic Four and Superman movies releasing at the same time next year, can a damaged brand bounce back with a good movie, or is it too late?
Yes. A good movie is a good movie, and it doesn't matter.
That's true. All you need is a good story. Like Grant Morrison said it himself. Like, what's Superman's greatest weakness? His writer. And that's just, it doesn't get any simpler than that. And we're all hungry for a decent, iconic, good Superman story on screen. I mean, look at Robert Venditti's Superman 78 from last week, issue 6, The Metal Curtain. What a great Superman ending. Good handling of the character, of his voice and his choices. And he turns Metallo's kryptonite heart into being heroic. That's Superman's power. Wow. That was such a good Superman story. I'm impressed with that. We need more of that.
Well, and also movies are clearly different than comic books. Like comic books come out at a periodic schedule. You're getting chapters or little bits of story every single month. Where a movie, you see it, you're like, whoa, my mind is blown. And you've got another 2 years at least to wait to have you really excited. If people like the Superman movie and they keep talking about this is awesome Superman, yes, I think people will be ready for more Superman. It's the same thing with Fantastic Four. Movies
love to
are a
see
little
that.
bit different than comics.
I'd love to see it. Yeah, they are different. The visual medium, movies are different than comic books. Movies are different than TV. It's different than music. It's different than, live action and stuff like that. You don't take a novel and make a movie out of it. That's going to be the most boring movie ever. Unlike the bastardization that is the X-Men animated, you gotta get the good parts, and you gotta be able to extrapolate them properly for the movie, and then ignore all the other stuff. The Lord of the Rings fans, you're not going to get everything. How could you even possibly think that? You got so many hours and so many movies, and you're still upset. And I'm not talking about new stuff, but But goddamn, just make a good Fantastic Four movie. Just make a good.
I was going to say,
Superman
yeah, because
movie.
Drew.
I think Drew is like 4 seconds behind. Be completely honest.
Maybe
Damn
your
it.
audio's cutting out, bro.
I was just going to say,
Gone.
guys, about 4 seconds.
Makes you realize that maybe the
Let
Chris
me hop
Evans
out and pop back in. I hope we can get rid of the lag.
All right.
Okay.
I was just trying to give you some time there.
Maybe the Chris Evans and Jessica Alba movies weren't all that bad.
Oh, please.
I found them charming.
Well, I didn't watch them, so I really don't know. I've got that going for me. I just don't watch this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And does anybody have any faith in these new MCU movies? I mean, look what they're doing right now with Blade and the Captain America movie. They're rewriting the movies over and over, and like the Captain America was filmed, and they're rewriting and refilming it.
Like 80%
That
of
doesn't
it.
give me a lot of confidence.
You know, I'm happy to leave it at Endgame, and I was pleased with No Way Home, and even Multiverse of Madness to a little bit, because I love Sam Raimi movies, so I love the Sam Raimi parts of that movie because they were very evident which you could really feel his fingerprints on. But I don't have to, you know, it's okay. Like I'm going to let go of MCU and I'm going to focus on other things. And because, geez, it's been a long time. It's been 2008. That was Iron Man 1. That's 15, 16 years now. That's a great run. We were so
Guardians
blessed.
of the Galaxy Volume 3 just came out last year, right?
People love that movie. I'm not a fan of that, but it's just people can't stop talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, the James Gunn movies. So
you didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy?
I did. I turned off the first one in 10 minutes because it was an Earthsat's remake of Boogie Nights. Yeah, and I was just
Boogie Nights.
I want to watch
Talking
Boogie
about Boogie
Nights. I'll
Nights?
watch Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights.
Yeah,
My goodness.
Chris Pratt was being Dirk Diggler of the Stars.
Jeremy Smith says, no, Doc said her art is like a kid scribbling in detention. Oh, and everyone read the Max sending that out into the ether. That is not true. That is not what
Doc
said.
took that from me. I said that.
You
No,
said that.
I'm saying
you said it. Doc did not.
I was going to say both
Doc
sides.
always compliments her art.
Yes, I have said that.
I was about to
Yes,
say
I
trouble
hate her art. It honestly looks. Yeah, it seriously looks like a middle schooler in study hall dueling it. You know, when they're trying to fall asleep. I am not impressed by her art. I don't get it. Do not get the fascination with it.
All right.
Why are you treating her like Riley Ronsmo?
I know, really. He's not that bad.
Why are we treating her like Walt Flanagan?
Walt Flanagan.
Yeah. Why are you treating him like
It's on the same
Danny
level.
Earl?
Why are we treating her like Igor Cordy? Huh?
Hey,
There's
they're on the
nothing
same
wrong
level.
with Igor Cordy other than he had to do 50 books in the same month.
I think Fujimoko is good, but for some reason, Drew just despises her art.
More for me.
Listen, Doc, but everyone likes
More
the
for
Max,
me.
though, right?
Huh?
Everyone likes
The
the
Max?
Max, though, right?
The
I
Max?
like the Max.
Yeah.
Like Sam
I
Keith?
love the Max.
Yes.
Sam
Yes.
Keith is a talented artist. Sam Keith is a legitimate talented artist.
He's the Peach
And-
Momoko of his time. What are you talking about? They're basically
And
identical.
before... No. And before...
Shit! Don't you dare compare him to Peach. Oh, that's
And
low blow.
before it was popular
Now you got him
to
mad.
be writing books that were geared so that women might actually want to pick them up and continue reading them, Sam Keith was at the forefront of that in the 90s. And there was a few other people out there that were doing quality work for women and men to read and enjoy. And the Max is one of them, for sure. I mean, and we're talking about in the early Image days, too.
And Chris Claremont's X-Men was another one.
Chris,
Yes.
well, the X-Men are. Chris is really good at that, and he had good editors to help him along with that.
That's right.
To shepherd him along, so he can get in touch with his feminine side, and
Louise
did a
Jones
really
and-
good job.
And Annie Nocenti. I mean,
Yeah.
they were the guiding hands through the 80s of Uncanny X-Men. Boom.
Unless you listen to John Byrne, and
Sam
then
had
it was all him.
Phil Lowe.
All right, Drew, are you ready to recant your sins and take back what you said about Peach, which was completely wrong?
No, never. It'll never happen.
Oh,
Never,
wow.
never, ever.
Jeremy's got some Peach Momoko art. Are you upset with him? It's original.
Hey, you
I'm
know,
jealous.
I love wasting
I'm
money
jealous.
as well on bad movies. So, hey, if you
Wow.
want to waste some money on that art, go right ahead. That's your prerogative.
Good for you. Good for you. Keep it going, Drew. I like that.
Beyond Wednesday says, new subscriber here. Great channel, great content. Thanks. Well, thank you very
It's
much.
true.
I appreciate the compliment. I hope you enjoyed the show. We've been doing this every Saturday for about 6 years now. And this is probably as unorganized as it gets because it just is one of those weird weekends. But we still made it a good quality, fun show with lots of entertainment. I think we got it.
Indeed.
Of course, you guys dragged me to the finish line, and I appreciate that. Ideator says, Peach Moko can be hit or miss. Some pieces are good and others are pretty uninspired. I appreciate her work, but some choices shouldn't see print.
Yeah.
I agree. I would agree with that.
Yes.
See, I like her interiors. They just put her on every cover. Sometimes they're the best covers of the week, and sometimes they're just very blah.
Yeah, like she did like, What If Venom?
Peach Momoko freaking collectors. So they know that there's an audience for all of them.
Well,
I'm a sucker for it. I am. I will buy a Peach Momoko cover just because yes. But I'm not going to get What If Venom that has the Doctor Strange mashup.
You don't like adorable Venom eating a kid?
But I did. But you'll put aside a copy of this week's Amazing Spider-Man for me with the Peach Momoko.
Oh, that's right.
And, and I'm like, thank you very much.
Maria the Wolf is also a really good artist, but sometimes the pieces just aren't the greatest ones.
She's amazing.
But when she's good, she's better than them all.
Better than Alex Ross?
Yeah, she's doing she's actually doing a Batman and Love of the Damned better than
really?
Better than
all right, that should be very detailed.
Because I was looking at some Alex Ross like Fantastic Four and Immortal Hulk covers, and they're just pretty damn good, especially if it's just Thing and no other characters.
He's on a different level right now than he ever has been, and however he's doing it, he's really good. So, bravo!
Definitely want to say thank you very much to everybody for supporting the channel, and I think we're only going to get through 2 topics today, but we do want to support comic books and put out some recommendations. Now, Kerry, you're more of a manga person, not that you don't love American comic books as well. What are you recommending this week?
Well, this week it's going to be manga. So I'm going to recommend the latest of My Hero Academia. If you like X-Men, this would be a manga I would suggest getting into. The difference is everybody in the world has superpowers, and it's rare if you don't. And the main character doesn't have powers, but suddenly gets some, and he's now learning how to use them. It's a great superhero story. We're getting into the final arc with the last battle, and it's a lot of fun. So I would recommend.
So they're canceling it?
Academia. No, he's ending it.
What?
Well, that's what happens with manga. Yeah, they have complete stories.
It doesn't
One Piece
go
is a different story. It's been still going on. I didn't realize.
I'm going to tell you right now, this final battle's been taking a while. So.
Oh, good.
And
but it's good. But it's awesome. That's what you want.
And this one is one that was recommended to me. That's really good. I'm going to butcher this name. It's Kimono
Dipwide Island.
Raihen.
I knew it.
No. It's if you like it's strange happenings, and there's this detective of the occult who goes to investigate it. So I'd recommend it.
Do not say horror or you will freak out.
No,
I didn't say horror. I said occult.
How do you spell that? Kimono.
It is Kemono,
Excellent.
and then it's Jihen, Jihen.
Excellent. Writing that down.
Thank you very much. I have a Shonen Jump app. I read manga. I just don't cover it here on the channel because you can't do reviews because you can't put the interiors up and talk about the book.
Yeah.
You guys are idiots. So what? I know you got lots of stuff going on with Mom. Has anything happened on the channel? You got anything people need to be looking at?
We are definitely bringing back Otaku Tuesday this week. We've had some issues because, just like you, a lot of people have been really sick. So it's been like awful. A plague. So that'll be back Tuesday night. We'll be talking about different topics with manga and anime. I'm hoping to get some videos done, as long as everything with Mom stays good. So look forward to that.
We are praying for Mom, and I'm glad that she's doing better. And obviously, we missed you last weekend, but we know that you were doing something much more important than sitting here talking geek with us. Shockingly, right? So,
and I appreciate you guys' support.
Appreciate that one. Drew, you and I obviously will be doing Best of the Week later on, talking about all of our recommendations in it this week. Is there anything else that you want to recommend that's maybe older, or maybe a Peach Momoko art book or something like that you want to talk about?
The then I recommend Peach Momoko. I really hope I am automatically kicked off the aficionados and YouTube.
No, you're embraced.
You finally came over to the side.
Aw.
No, the invasion of the body snatchers is not happening. I got to recommend Nexus by Mike Barron because we got to interview Mike Barron last weekend. My brother Kyle got to read it for the first time. His mind was blown because really, if you've never read Nexus, never heard of Nexus, you pick up that first volume, those first few issues, it will blow your mind. The concepts, the aliens that's going on in that series. Do check out Nexus by Mike Barron, and do check out the Kickstarter for his new issue.
And do be waiting on pins and needles for Drew and I to be running down the best comic books of the week, and another event book that kind of fell off this week that we're going to hit up as well. Dylan Lindsay says, fun show as usual. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Peach's art is not for superhero comics. I can't bring myself to read Ultimate X-Men. Not good.
Okay. People said the same. Great. People said the same thing about Ram V's Detective Comics as well. That because it's such a slow burn. But I'm thinking that's where the true talent is with Batman comics right now, not the vapid Zdarsky run. It's
Ram V has a talent for wasting good artists. I'll give him that.
It's not even a burn.
Oh my goodness.
That Detective Comics run is just awful at this point.
Really? Oh man.
So bad.
I'm enjoying it.
I really like that book
lukewarm.
that he came out with a couple of weeks ago. That was basically like Pacific Rim or whatever it was. I can't remember the name right now. Do you remember that one, Yul?
Yeah, really good.
Dawn Runner?
Dawn Runner. That's one.
Oh, that
was
one.
really
Yeah,
good.
that's right.
Yeah, but unfortunately, his Detective hasn't been up to my taste. But hey, to each their own. Everyone has their favorite artists or artists that they don't like. I don't like Riley Rossmo on books, and whenever I talk about it, people do give me pushback, and I'll definitely support Peach Momoko. I think she's great. I just don't happen to like Ultimate X-Men because it doesn't feel like X-Men. Oh my goodness, what is going on here? I've been hitting multiple things, and things are happening to me. We've also got Eric O'Sullivan, the bright shining beacon of Thinking Critical YouTube. Do you have a bag of funny books? Do you got recommendations?
I got a bag full of funny books that I picked up this Wednesday at my local comic book shop. That's right. I actually got a crowdfunded book that was really good. It's called King of Kings by Jesse Blaze Snyder and Mark Bolton. The art in this is really good. It's a single floppy, so it's got staple binding, and it's in issue 1, and it's got a sense of humor like Mad Magazine and an art style like it too. I thought it was clever, funny, and I hope they're able to produce more and finish, the dream and give us a complete comic book. But it was a $20 floppy, and it was on Kickstarter, exclusive. Yeah, Jesse Blaze Snyder, he said he might have a second chance campaign or an eBay store coming up soon. So get this out there. This was a good book. I really enjoyed that. What's in the bag? What did I get? I got Hulk 11, which is decent. I like the story. I'm not too happy with the Danny Earls art, but because I'm spoiled with Nick Klein. We all are. The hand-drawn onomatopoeia. That's the sound effects. I mean, Nick Klein is it's part of the art, man. It's always good. We got Transformers number 7. The art change in this, is okay. It fits with what's come before with Daniel Warren Johnson. It's Jorge Corona, and it's pretty fun. They got Wolverine, Sabretooth War, Part 7. And this is the Sabretooth War. This is really pretty good. Marvel's got me for $50. I did bite. I got Action Comics, and I'm in for Brainiac, House of Brainiac. I'm already buying Superman and Green Lantern, so why not go all the way? I got this month's issue of Green Lantern, still pretty fun. And as we said before, I got Ultimate X-Men number 2, which was like I said, it was kind of a miss for me, but I'm still sticking with it. And I'm a big fan of her art. And I like this stuff at the end where she just explains stuff. Cool, yeah. You know what I mean? And so I like it. I just felt like it's got to be the Shadow King stuff. It's never really satisfied me. But here, I got from last week, I picked this up $3.99 for 60 pages of story and art. This is a key issue. It's the first appearance of Rook, Exodus number 1 from Ghost Machine, Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok ripping this up every page. Great panels, great line art. This got the goods. and $3.99, 60 pages. Get yours. It's going to a second printing. And then also, I picked up The Last Mermaid, #2, with its unique
that's a Uel Carter special.
You know,
How was that one? I haven't read it yet.
It's okay. You know what I mean? The art is, it's a little digital for my taste, but yeah, I like the story.
Like a movie, though.
Yeah, it's very cinematic. So this would make a great storyboards for an animated or even a movie, but it's a really interesting idea. And sometimes, sometimes comic books can be activist based. This is about resources. This is about water preservation. Yes. And you can have platforms for those kind of messages and stories. Sure. It just doesn't have to be, an issue with Superboy all the time, but this is okay. So I'm sticking with it. And that's my bag of funny books I got from my local comic book shop, and I get my supplies there too. So should you. You need bags, you need boards, and boxes too. Get them there.
Very nice.
True.
So how did the Ghost Machine stuff do? We got Geiger 1 again. We got Redcoat #1, and then Rook Exodus #1 last week. Did they sell good?
I was worried that I didn't order enough, so I had to reorder, and I did that before I even sold any. And I got that back in, which was good because I had sold out immediately, and so it's doing pretty well. At least as far as first issues are concerned. I think Jeff Johns being on those books, some superheroing, we're going to call it, that isn't Marvel and DC is kind of exciting. Really good artists, Fabic, Hitch, and Gary Frank, one of my all-time faves, of course. Are working on these books, and then the other ones are coming out, and it's pretty promising, actually. I'm hoping,
What were your thoughts on the books? Did you read them?
No, I've only read some of Redcoat, and I kind of know what I'm going to expect in Geiger, so I can hold back on that for a little bit. But
I thought Rook was the best one. It was great.
I've heard that, but Redcoat it started off cool. I'm interested, and Rook. It's taken me a while to get around to some of the stuff.
Very nice. Are you recommending any other books?
Yes, I am. Uncanny Valley #1 came out by Tony Fleece and some dude. Action, good. Ultimate X-Men, I think you should read that. And When the Blood Has Dried #1. If you like fantasy, people with pointy ears and stuff like that. It's written by some Irish dude, and the art is really good, and it's by Mad Cave. And if you want to hear about more Mad Cave stuff, I'll have Joe on my Fantastic Comics show. But last week, I showed this on the show. I'm going to just show you a few books that I purchased at the local comic show.
Any slabs?
Comes out. Pardon me?
Any slabs?
No slabs. But I'm going to be cracking one this Tuesday. I got 4 issues of Adolescent Black Belt Radio. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
3D. And I bought some Spidey comic books right here.
Oh, nice.
And they're all near mint minus.
Nice.
And not slabbed. See? I can take
early Punisher.
Yeah, it's like the second story with him on that, I think. I needed it for my collection. So, thank you very much, Wes. It's been a great show. It's real fun. I love the ones that are... I don't know what we're going to do. We only have one topic. Everything's boring, and it's always the best show.
It's always have the most fun. Now, do you have anything happening on Fantastic Comics YouTube? I know sometimes you got big interviews. You got Joe Corallo coming up in 2 weeks?
Either this week or next week. Yeah, I'm going to have him on. No, nothing really. I'm going to be working heavy on the store because I'm getting it ready for Free Comic Book Day.
Right.
And it's very cigar shaped. And so I have this big idea about changing shelves around and cutting down the desk. So I can promote more book sales. Yeah. Well, not a chainsaw, but yes, we're going to be cutting it. And it's going to be crazy. So that's kind of a lot of what my focus is on. But of course, new comics come out every week. So, there's always that.
Very nice. I do want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining us. Aaron, I hope you're feeling better. You were supposed to be here as well. We got a lot of people out sick and people traveling all over the world, but we made it happen. We had a good show, lots of fun here, and I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and I'll see y'all next time.